People of Earth, how are you?
Hello and welcome back to the only show that breaks down, cracks up, skews, and reviews each week's DC Comics. I'm as hungry as a parasite clone, Eric Shea.
And I'm Jim Warner.
And this is the Weird Science DC Comics Podcast, episode number 481.
481, I don't have to tell you that I'm hungry, Eric. I am always hungry, and that is
you told me you had indigestion.
Knowledge, well, that's because I've been eating all day, and I'm still hungry. Just because you have indigestion doesn't mean that you're not hungry. It just means you have indigestion. I have more of a heartburn type deal going, little acid reflux. But hey, everybody,
old man problems. I got you.
Yeah, just actually, it's more like spaghetti sauce problems I had earlier, and I shouldn't have eaten it. I think it might have been a little off too. But hey, here we are, 481. It's just like every other podcast that we've done, and we're going to get some mail that somebody's actually going to say that we have upped the game a bit, or at least they think that they like what we're doing, Eric. Imagine that. Imagine that would be the case. But here we are. We have a bunch of books this week as compared to last week where we had none. And if anybody has looked at the upcoming solicits and things that are going to go on in the summer, you better relax right now with, this little bit of books at points. Because when Night Terrors hits, holy moly, we're going to get hit with books. A tsunami of books, as they say,
but
Eric.
Will they be books that people will care about?
I hope. I really do hope. And I end up, here's my spin.
They bet the farm on Night Terror, so hopefully it works out.
Hopefully it wasn't the Kent farm, because Mom and Pa will be out looking for a new place to live. But I ended up doing some videos on Night Terrors when they initially announced the creative teams. Now the solicits came out. I will tell you, Eric, a little bit more of a positive spin from some people. Some people ended up reading the solicits and ended up thinking, all right, well, I'll get this book or I'll get that. So they're at least picking and choosing. Most of the people seem to be very interested in the Flash and the Black Adam book. For some reason, the Black Adam book seems to keep on coming up on people's discussion, but that is better. At first, when I did this video, people were just like, I'm not going to deal with any of this. Then I think they realized, well, that means 2 months without anything. So you know what? And I tried to tell people what I would do. My whole play would be, you get the main book. And if the main book is good enough that it intrigues you, then start picking and choosing some of these tie-ins. But I would always get the main book of an event like this. Plus, once I end up doing the Solicits podcast, which I'm planning on doing after we record here, there are some other books coming out. Some actually Dawn of DC books that I thought weren't coming out until September. Stuff like Steelworks, Hawkra. There are things coming out. That Mark Waid, the World's Finest Teen Titans is coming out. So you do have some things hitting. I think there'll be enough. But that just adds to the amount of books that me and you are going to have to talk about, Eric, which, I know we love.
I don't know
what
you're talking about, Jim. I said this summer I'm doing nothing but Night Terrors. None of this continuity bullshit. I don't need this. It's Night Terror time.
That's the thing. The idea of the World's Finest Teen Titans, not quite continuity anyway, but I think also stuff like that Brave and the Bold book, that anthology, that'll be coming out
Too bad
as
it doesn't say Night Terrors.
Yeah, I know. That'll be your big deal. You're going to put your foot down on the Night Terrors. Well, even if we did that,
I'm betting the farm on Night Terrors.
We will have a long-ass podcast because there are a lot of Night Terrors books. I actually usually don't send you like the checklist and stuff like that, and I'm like, holy cripes, there's a lot. So I send it to you and right away you're like, holy shit, there's a lot of books. I'm like, yes, there are. But here we are for this week's books, a bunch of bangers, I think Eric told me. And before we get into that, though, go over to the Twitter at Weird Science DC. Follow us. We'll follow you on back. Go to our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com, where you can get written reviews to most of the books that come out each and every week. Go to our YouTube channel, Weird Science Comics. Check out some video reviews and news. And then go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Science, where you can help us for all the things that we do, but also get plenty of things in return. A lot of podcasts, a lot of stuff like that. This week, the shining gem of the Patreon, which is our Thursday night Patreon only badass spotlight act. It was Superboy, The Man of Tomorrow, #1, and Wonder Woman 798. Pretty big books. I don't know that I'm going to say Superboy, The Man of Tomorrow is actually a real Dawn of Day, but it says it
He's
there.
a boy of forever.
Really. I actually really thought about that after we were done last night, that you said a book called The Man of Tomorrow. Very odd for a character
who can't grow up
and really is upset about that. So Who knows? Maybe we'll get it, Eric. All of a sudden he ages, but it'll be like Black Adam. It'll turn to dust. Just dust, Eric. He's gone.
That's what he likes about high school girls. Both them and him stay the same age.
Oh, my goodness gracious. He is canceled now. Wonder Woman 798 was the penultimate issue of The Revenge of the Gods. And boy, what an issue it was, Eric. We had a lot of issues with it. I'll tell you that. But we had fun talking about it, trying to figure out exactly what was going on with Wonder Woman's powers, how exactly Mary Marvel was able to transfer the power to Diana, and why that made her a god.
Hey, Black Adam made a precedent, and, Dark Crisis, he can give his powers to anybody. Why can't Mary Marvel?
Well, I mean, Black Adam, like, everybody's family to him, right? He's like, hey, fam. And then
that's what I think about when I think of Black Adam.
Oh, yeah. I now,
he loves everybody.
Seriously, if we went back to that story, and instead of that, he actually gave the powers to everybody in Kahndaq, almost like the play that they do when they unleash the bottled city of Kandor. Maybe that would have played out better. You just have a powered-up Kahndaq to come in and help. I know it's not the wow moment, but he probably considers them family, right? Right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I actually did give a shot. I gave a little props, or I will later. When we get to the DCeased, the final, when you do have Damian mention, yeah, those Kandorans, they've never used these powers. I'm like, you know what? I don't think anybody's ever really said that. But it's true. It is true, except maybe they're using them in the bottle, right? Someday I'll do that. Someday I'll do that parody that you wanted all along, the Kandor in a bottle.
City in a bottle?
City in a bottle. Yeah, but Kandor in a bottle, Eric. I like that sound better. But with that, again, each Thursday we have that big spotlight. It was about 2 hours this week, much to Eric's chagrin. Did you realize that it was almost 2 hours when we were done?
I did.
I didn't. See, there you go. That's the tale of two guys right there. I actually thought it was a lot quicker than that. I'm like, holy crap, why didn't we go any further? Why didn't we go longer, Eric? But with that, if you want to listen to that, plus a lot of DC Comics stuff, including an Injustice reading club, a Gotham Central reading club, and other things that aren't even DC, say a Walking Dead reading club, or a Hellboy reading club, or a Events Crisis podcast. It's all there, Eric. I can't believe there's so much. Just go over to patreon.com/Weird Science. The show notes will have the links to that. But all this leads to my favorite part, where I get to go nuts about names. Eric, here we go. This is the Badass Roll Call. And just to point out, the Badasses picked the two books that are on the spotlight. They are the Badasses who get press crew. And here we go. Brian Trevitt, my man Trevitt, Eric K. Jeffrey Greek, Zachary Walker, Stephen Bat Mitchell, The Annihilator, Ted Probst, I Love Punchline, Stork, Michael S., Cam, Matt Razor, D-Man 3000. I know you're already giggling. I can kind of...
I'm not doing anything.
Niels T. Wart, David Fink, Stephen Baum, Jason Colby, Sue42 to you and me, Michael G., Ken Halleck, Comic Boom, Rocky, May I Touch Him?
I guess.
Did I get my EI Touch?
Honestly, surprised me by saying it right.
May I Touch Him? Is that just asking about my own private? Mark Jager, Bill Beer from the Bat Pod, Ruben, Carlos, at least I'm nice to ask, Noah Marv, Matthew Rapier, Luke Hollywood, Simon, Luis Manship, Andrew and Belfast, Swanee, Anthony G., Josh Vermillion, Batman Beyond, Mark, who were planning on doing the comics cartoon show this week. I don't know if we'll get to it. B. Mira, he's in Buffalo. Eric, can you sing the song while I'm going so I don't have to hit it again?
Hey, you don't have to.
Hey, what?
You can just do it.
Oh,
you
my goodness. Brandy Murray up there 41. In Buffalo. They didn't have a lot of snow this winter. He said they're being driven insane. And Double A Ron up there in Minnesota doxing his ass. All-time great shout out to Rob Lewis and Reginald Drinkwater. And that's that. That is a smooth as silk deal, Eric. I'm actually, I thought I was just on my game until I just fumbled that. I'm on my game until I fumbled talking about how I'm on my game. But we do have a bunch of books for you. pretty good. I mean, there are some of the big ones that the
really
idea
sell
that.
it.
Well, I'm just saying, a lot of people do like these books.
I don't know if you should listen, guys, because it's kind of good.
And they're up there. We'll probably disagree with some of these, but I think we'll agree with others, Eric. It's like the song.
The hard stance.
It's like the Beatles song, "We Can Work It Out." If you ever listen to that song, at the
end, is overrated too.
Nothing gets resolved, Eric. It's like, maybe I'm right, but you might be wrong, but so might I, but we should work it out, but maybe we won't. There it is. That's
you might be crazy.
John got upset at Paul because he said a lot of his songs went nowhere. Nowhere, except, Eric, to the top of the charts. That's where they went. Overrated.
People weren't as disturbed back then.
You are
They were in all of that foreign British sound.
They were in all of that British sound, but still.
Foreign British sound.
Yeah, they changed the face of not only music, but pop culture in general, Eric, and I'll stand by that till I die next week.
Just but like Dracula.
Yeah, I will. And maybe once I'm Dracula, I'll have to fight Tim Drake and Superman.
Well, who said you're going to be Dracula? I said just like Dracula.
I thought you were making me Dracula. I want to be Actually,
I
don't want to be
lion.
Dracula. Can you imagine me, Dracula? It's like every day, they're like, what up, Dracula? I'm like, I feel like shit. They're like, please, somebody get a wooden stake and kill this guy.
I don't understand why you have to be Dracula.
I'm saying, though, it would last forever, though. See, I'll actually die, though. When I'm Dracula, I'll just live forever just bitching and moaning. I just want to die, so I don't want to be Dracula. That's it. You end up having Kiefer Sutherland say, don't you want to live forever and be just... No, I don't. I'd rather eat those worms and those maggots, David. But here we go. We will go off now to some books. That is true, and I'm going to lean on that knowledge, Eric, as we go forward each and every podcast. I need your help. But we end up having a couple books to start out this deal. One being The World's Finest, Batman Superman World's Finest, where it really is like an Eric Shea's almost the greatest hits. You're not a huge Metamorpho fan, but once you end up having some of these other characters brought in, I thought, oh my God, Eric, he's been reading comics most of his life. He's going to love all this, Jimmy Olsen. And then when we get to the Superman deal, you do love yourself some Parasite or just the whole villains for the Superman. But
it'd be good if we got any.
Yeah, I warned you. I did warn you about that. And a lot of times you don't believe me when I warned you, but I think I was spot on that one. Well, no. Sometimes I end up getting upset about things.
Embellish, lie, it happened, you know.
Well, okay, you say that. Did I? No. I know that you feel exactly the same way.
But this is why I feel this way.
And I actually ended up not even really going that much into it. I just told you I thought you would be upset. And so that's not a lie. You're always upset, just like me. That's why we get along together, unlike one of the mails that we'll have in a little bit. You got one of the mails ahead of time because it was a question. Another one poses a question, but it's a funny one that I'll see what you have to say. But
I wasn't prepped for this. I'm not doing it.
The first couple of it's just an opinion deal, but we're here for these two books. If you want to read reviews of all of these books, you can just go over to our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com. Check out the written reviews if that's your thing anymore. Print is dead, I hear, Eric. But we're going to start off with World's Finest. We're going to start off with Batman Superman World's Finest number 14, written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora. Tamra Bonvillain. You know anything about it? She is not the Wolfman. She blocked us. One of the best.
For good reason, probably.
Probably my favorite colorist. But yet, I can't tell her. Eric, I can't tell her she's blocked me. Let her see I said me. She didn't block you.
I know.
Maybe. Letters by Steve Wands there. Steve Wands comes through, though. He still didn't block us. Probably doesn't know who we are, but that's fine, Eric. But we jump into this, and there's always a thing when I'm reading this book, the idea of, okay, how is Eric going to take this book? And everything that I do, that's all that happens. I was just going to say, everything that I do always comes back to Eric Shea about the idea of a continuity, where it fits into things. Can he have fun with this? And I thought there's parts of this book, especially once the Metal Men come in, that I hope that you could have a little bit of fun.
How are you going to have fun with the Metal Men? Because even the idea, He's Dr. Magnus and the Metal Man. They're in a vat and being tortured and not in the book except for a screaming face. Like, he's going to have fun with this. It's the Metal Man.
I had a hilarious fun because that's hilarious, Eric. No, the whole thing with what they talk about and just having them mentioned. I mean, nowadays, you're not even going to get a mention of those guys. So it's nice for that to come in. And this issue and this arc really does feel more to me like Mark Waid is trying to, give wink winks to longer time readers. This isn't really for the new readers. When you have a Metamorpho, Metalman mentioned, Dr. Ivo, or Professor Ivo, as you always correct me.
I don't know. The thing is, it does feel kind of user-friendly, because even the last issue, it's like, okay, it's a Metamorpho issue. Let me tell you everything, the greatest hits about Metamorpho.
Yeah, you have that,
Rex
but I
Mason.
still don't think people are going to love him. They're just going to know him now, but this would be, you know what I mean? If I end up getting introduced to something, that doesn't mean I'm going to get excited that he's here. This would also be for longer deal, and to know the Simon Stagg and the Java and the combo of, say, a Doc Magnus and stuff like that, I think that it really does play out for older. It's user-friendly. I don't think people are going to be left behind, but I still think that the combo of characters is more for some people who really like the, silver and gold age
you're not
stuff.
Getting anywhere else, that's for sure.
Yeah, you won't get it anywhere else. So I thought that was a pretty cool deal. But like you said, it's done in a way that nobody's left behind. There's no Kirk Camerons here, Eric.
Because even seriously. That situation, like, all right, everybody, you've been dying and asking for Metamorpho to show up. I'm going to do it. I'm going to spend half the issue telling you stuff you already know. All right, cool.
In this issue, again, because he's never really in the issues anymore, so I'm sure that might have been put in, by an edict, by editorial anyway.
Which makes sense.
When you get into this issue, the only thing that I thought was a little down in this issue as we go, and I think I mentioned this to you as well, and it's the idea that after we get this beginning where you have Metamorpho and he's going around and trying to attack his villains, and he ends up
find out he's trying to frame me for murder.
Yeah, and he thinks at this point that Bruce Wayne has paid these guys to frame him. It's all this, spinning around, and he does go after Doc Dredd. And you had mentioned when we were talking about this on our spotlight that Doc Dredd seemed to be the Java turned into Dr. Doom deal that we had in the
for the whole New Age of DC heroes, which was just a play on all of Marvel comics, but with DC characters. People loved it. I didn't understand why.
Yeah, we didn't either. But in fact, this villain is a established villain in a weird way. This was a villain in Doomsday Clock. First appearance in Doomsday Clock.
Don't recall him at all.
Yeah, ended up being if the weird players, I thought that all it was going to be, because the initial introduction was on a video screen, but then ended up in the last issue of Doomsday Clock within the thing with actually Stingery, who was mentioned as well.
Captain
So
Stingery,
it's kind of a cool play there, but that kind of mucks things up a little more. When we talked about the idea that this continuity is a little off or whatever, this really, either it mucks it up or you just go with the idea that this is the Everything Matters book, where you could just throw things in.
Well,
but
that's the thing, is we talked about this previously with the idea of the world's finest timeline, trying to, create a new, earlier continuity to establish things that are going on currently in DC Comics, along the lines of how we have a lot of flashbacks now of Ghostmaker to try to make him more relevant to the history of Batman in general, by saying, oh no, he's always been there. You just haven't seen it. So here's some of the stuff you never seen. Now, if we go retroactively, go back and check out like the past of Teen Titans or Batman, Superman, and say these characters here, it gives those newer characters more gravitas, because while they are new, it gives them a past of the characters that we don't have to just say it was there without ever having to see it.
I still, when I all the things in this issue really brought me back to Double K, or K, talking about the idea that maybe this could be its own world's finest imprint, almost like an Ultimate Universe deal, which would be pretty cool, because you do have a lot of these things and callbacks and things that are just mentioned. But once we get past that Metamorpho thing, it's not really a false, flag here. He's pissed. He's going after people that he thought ended up framing him. Doesn't look like he's full out sus.
El Mentenses and his robot army.
Yeah, so he ends up doing that. In the meantime, Bruce Wayne is suspected of the murder of Simon Stagg. I don't mind that. And by the end of this...
Does nothing for the book. Does nothing at all for the book.
It does one thing for the book. It allows you to have Robin and Superman team up. That's why they team up. I don't mind
but
that.
But even the idea, though, it's like, here we are. It goes
too long to be clever about this. It really, it
Bruce
slogs
Wayne
it down.
is arrested for murders. Lawyers get him out, but the thing is, Bruce is all pissed off about the situation that, the Daily Planet has put it in with Jimmy Olsen and Perry White tracking down the leads and say, who had something to gain by Simon Stagg's death? That old Bruce Wayne. And I think that, it's a little thin, but apparently he was arrested anyway. And now I can't go out gallivanting as Batman because people are going to have a closer look on Bruce Wayne and his activities until he just goes out and does Batman stuff and it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. I love the idea, though, that he ends up where he's like, way to go, Clark. You just took the world's greatest detective off of the
just
table.
A shit talker. That's all it is.
I'm like, you pompous bitch. But what it ends up doing, and this is something that I said in my video review, the idea of this where you have Mark Waid, and you get this occasionally, who really used to do it a lot is Bendis. Bendis would come in, and he'd want to explain things that we always take for granted in comics. Actually, Christopher Priest will try to do it in a more scientific way as well.
Scientists.
And so I didn't need
weird science.
I understand, and it is clever, but I think that the idea ends up being more clever in your mind. And then when it gets into the comic, it just kind of is like, okay, we get it. We understand, because all this is, yeah, Bruce, you know that I didn't do it. Well, Superman knows, but Clark doesn't. Jimmy has the sources. Yeah, but then, but then Perry would ask.
We gotta play the game, Bruce.
Yeah, we kind of just go with this, and you could have just had the shit talk of just, thanks a lot there, pal. Thanks. And to get Clark involved was weird because it was a Jimmy story. I love the idea that Superman, that Clark Kent, he decided to get in on it like he kind of wanted to fuck Bruce anyway. I'm telling you, it's like, let me get in on that, Jimmy. I really want to stick it to this guy. But yeah, so how would I, now the idea too of how would I explain that Clark Kent knows so much about Bruce Wayne? But I've actually read issues where Clark Kent has gone and interviewed Bruce Wayne. And obviously Clark Kent is a smart guy.
Have you read it this far back in their timeline?
I think you'd know. I think he'd know about Bruce Wayne, though. Bruce Wayne is a very, so the idea of that is kind of, it's okay. It does explain things and it allows shit talk, but what it really does, and you pointed out the bad side of it, but it does allow Dick Grayson to ride Superman like a horsey. And I don't mind that, right?
But is that the best part? Like,
it's the best part.
I didn't know how much I needed Dick Grayson riding Superman like a horsey.
I love the idea that Dick Grayson is riding Superman like a horsey while he's on his phone, but also, in the meantime, when they do finally get Metamorpho and he has to hold him, it's now getting a little crowded on the Superman trolley. And I do like it. I wish that he also had to grab. I wanted him to grab Bruce. I wish we had, I wanted to see just like 800 people on there. It'd be so great. But all this is going on and Bruce is trying to look into things. Obviously, he knows then, and Clark knows that he didn't do this, but they have to figure it out. I love how the quick switcheroo, though. When you end up how Bruce is like, listen, now you just took the greatest detective off the board, but the real killer is going to be relaxed now. So I get you. It's pretty good. So he's now okay with it.
But it turns out the world's greatest detective isn't needed for this whole situation. Just somebody with a keen eye, I guess. Because the whole information about everything that we need here pretty much falls on Bruce's doorstep, because Oliver Queen calls him up talking about the idea, I need to put some money into Wayne Tech and we can partner up on this AI system. I know you want to do this weapon, and I turned you down before, but you know what? I want to get involved in this Wayne Tech AI system. And when they get off the phone, Bruce is like, look, I just talked to Oliver. His ass is all about the people and machines ruining society and taking away jobs for Americans. He started talking about he wanted to get on the AI project. This doesn't sound like, he didn't call me Brucey Boy once. He just kept calling me Wayne. There was something weird. So then I called up Ted Core, and I called up all the billionaires we know. And all of those dudes, they felt weird to me. So you know what I'm thinking? Somebody done replaced all the billionaires. And then when we go to Simon Stagg's funeral the next day, Clark uses his X-ray vision to realize this isn't Simon Stagg's body. It's a robot body that's made to look like a person with an artificial brain. And the thing about this, it's very cool. It really does remind me of one of those later Batman the Animated Series episodes when Bruce Wayne goes missing and Superman has to dress up like Batman because Robin's upset, like, where did Bruce Wayne go? And it turns out that Brainiac had controlled him to do this whole thing. And also the idea of Hardak from another Batman the Animated Series where the scientist was replacing people with robot duplicates. So it's this weird situation where it's like, I like those two stories in those animated episodes a lot. I'm like, is it cool here as well because I like that, or is it almost like it's too similar?
Here's the thing: is now we're going to get into deal that we could talk about where you had the issue with the White Knight when it was digging into some things like that. So maybe it is.
When it was playing like the greatest versions that he liked the best.
So maybe it's giving you some
the '89
stuff.
Batmobile. Here's this, that, and the other thing. Just picking and like cherry picking all the great. But that thing is that worked from that. I initially was upset about it because I'm an asshole. But eventually I got over it because it's its own thing. It's its own universe.
Well, and isn't this a little askew?
Look, it's only askew because of how Mark Waid screwed up talking about how the timeline works.
What I really want to stress to everybody, if you kill Simon Stagg and replace his body, you get a lead coffin. You don't need Superman peeping around. So you end up having that. But even so, I love the idea where... and also, if Bruce wouldn't have been accused, he might have been off, never would have taken the call from Oliver. It works out.
Well, he might have, just because, Green Arrow stuff.
I love the idea that when he calls Superman about this, finally, when he kind of comes up with this deal, and he's like, listen, hey, Supes, I don't think Oliver is himself. I think he's been replaced. Well, why do you think that? Because he didn't annoy the shit out of me while we were talking. It really felt like he's like, he didn't annoy me. And then he also wanted things that weren't really his.
He didn't call me a fascist once. And I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah, a Brucey boy. He didn't annoy him so much.
Now, I'm telling you, some of this era Green Arrow, I can get a hold of that something fierce. If you want to add Green Arrow into this book, like we have with all these other cameos, like Metamorpho, like the Doom Patrol, and everybody else we've seen so far, I could really get down for some old school Oliver Queen.
It's funny because you always go with the animated series, and when I start thinking about things, because I didn't watch all the animated series, I watched one episode there, but I love The Brave and the Bold. So I was thinking, away I thought of them, Oliver, Bruce fighting the Clock King. Oh my God, I think it's the first episode. I ended up loving that, so I would really like more of that going on as well. But in that, he does realize, oh my God, everybody, all of these billionaires are being replaced. Then you start thinking.
Trying to think of the timeline, too. I want to think that this is the era of the Sherwood Florist with Black Canary as well. Just because, like, the 80s feel to everything for the era of it. Yeah.
It really does feel that way. And then there's mentions of things that are kind of cool. Steve Drayton, Mento, and also Lauren Jupiter, the original Teen Titans benefactor. So you have these things. And
all the billionaires.
And so I like that. I thought that what we would play with here is that, oh no, now Bruce, you're in trouble. And that's always the fun play. That's a real fun storyline.
So I imagine what's next.
When somebody comes after Bruce now, realizing they're Batman and they're in for a real treat, but they play it smart. Mark Waid plays it smart because that would have been next, but it isn't because he can't, because now Bruce has won it for murder.
That was the thing that was so cool about that Hardek episode of the Batman animated series where you had Batman. It wasn't Bruce Wayne replaced, but it was Batman being replaced. And it was Bruce Wayne because they got information downloaded and the computer system that built the robots put this out there. But the Batman robot was damaged to the point where he actually believed he was Batman, Bruce Wayne, and he couldn't understand that he was a machine, and he got really upset about it. It was a really great episode, one of the best in my mind.
Do you think that Bruce is jealous that Dick Grayson went right away to Supes? Plus, what is he doing? Hanging from the rafters? He comes in, he's upside down. Hey there! Because then Bruce says, where are you going to find a detective? And he's like, here he is. But again, it's like him doing flips around. The guy's just got to settle down. Somebody get him some Adderall. But I love also, as this is ended, this kind of scene where he's talking to Superman, and then he's walking down with Alfred. It's like the man with the leaf and ham sandwich. It just made me laugh because he is so nice. Because Bruce actually says, I still think we should look into Metamorpho. I'm a little, nervous about Metamorpho, and it could be him. And right away, Superman says, it's not. I mean, this isn't even like, I don't think it is. Please let me find out. He says, it's not. And they are, Dick and Superman, they're going to go off and find Metamorpho to get him and kind of reel him in, it seems, because it's a bit of a crazy deal. But it's funny that Bruce kind of throws shade at how nice and good, Superman is. But after that deal with Oliver, and once Oliver starts like, hey, yeah, this AI sounds great. Like, I hate the human mind and how they can do things. And this will be the greatest thing ever. Yeah, he realizes.
And then at the end, he's like, we are Borg. Oliver Queen out.
And again, you're going to get these little jokes, but I think they hit pretty well where Oliver's like, don't let me keep you from your stupid polo match, rich guy. And then it goes, they cut off the thing, and then Bruce says, cancel my polo match. I thought that was funny. Now, if you really wanted to have some fun, we don't have the time or space for it. You end up having Alfred think that he could dress up like Bruce, like he does with Batman sometimes, and he goes to play the polo match, breaks his hip. Eric, he's an old man. He's not going to be able to do that. But you end up where Dick Grayson riding Superman like a horse. It makes sense. I mean, it looks pretty cool, right? He's there flying on his butt cheeks.
There's never a good way to be flown somewhere.
No, there isn't. But I think that this actually is a little more dignified than being held in the front like Metamorpho does later, or what we usually get from Batman. And so you have all this, and they're
We're
going down.
dignified for who?
No, both, maybe. Well, maybe
Is
not.
it?
Actually, this looks like the ambiguously gay duo throughout. I mean, it really does. But we end up where we're going, and if anybody doesn't know that little cartoon on SNL, you should look it up. But you end up where all this going on, they're tracking down Metamorpho, going to, okay, here's his villains, here's what might be next. Let's go to Nicaragua, Venezuela. They're trying to figure this out, and they do come to him where he is in a fight with El Montanzis and his robot army. And again, this is just for fun. You have a robot army. You have this. I mean, I love that he's just there as a general. He's yelling out orders, but in fact, the robots aren't under his control. He says that they are malfunctioning, and Superman's just going to beat the crap out of him. Robin's going to try to play Batman by throwing him off a cliff on the rope, which is pretty cool. I thought that was cool. And I do like the idea that as this is going on, they're kind of spelling out what Metamorpho will be doing with his powers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you end up, I like where he's like, right now, Metamorpho's doing this, and he's going to end up hurting all of these villagers. But he says, I'm not really involved with this. I'm not the one. And we kind of end up by the end realizing these guys aren't really that involved. You know, the idea that Metamorpho is trying to get these answers, this isn't where the answers are, but they are able to settle down Metamorpho and then bring them back.
Don't kill people, Metamorpho. That's not you.
Yeah, it isn't. And you're a hero. And I mean, really, he's going there. We're trying to make sure that we say you didn't kill anybody, even though Bruce Wayne at this point is already won it for. It's a weird play, but they bring him back. That's where you have him holding Metamorpho. Then it's a full boat going, but that's where Bruce realizes, hey, everybody. And that's the other thing, too, is Superman wants Metamorpho to come back because Sapphire, her dad's funeral is coming up. And he says, you should be there with Sapphire. Stop this nonsense. Calm down for at least a day and go with your lady. Go to the deal. He goes as well. Clark does. And that's where Bruce ends up calling and saying, hey, I did all this. And all these billionaires, they seem to be replaced. Somehow something is going on. Doesn't feel right. Superman pretty much gets the last clue. Like you said, in the coffin, Simon Stagg is not Simon Stagg. He's
an android. So it must be Professor Ivo, creator of the Amazo, a villain who could duplicate superpowers, but wasn't smart enough to pass for an actual person like Stagg or Queen. If Ivo's up this game, he didn't do it solo. An artificial brain that sophisticated suggests he's drafted a particular accomplice, willing or otherwise, and Robin. And you and Robin see that we have to go to Dr. Will Magnus to find out what this is about. And that's when you get the cool moment, the idea of going to Dr. Will Magnus to try to see him and, you know, the Metal Men, because the Metal Men to me are always a good time, even if they are, I don't know, they're underrated characters in my mind because they are just robots that just, you know, they're based on elements and there's not a lot to them. That's why they don't ever have an ongoing series or even a series that lasts very long at all. It is disappointing, though, when you have the Metal Men all just in vats being boiled down to their freaking raw elements. I'm just saying, the hell are the responsometers made of that are surviving in this, you know, molten vat at this point in time? We have no idea how long they've been there. There's just gold screaming, trying to pull something together there. Help me!
Yeah, he's just there. And you know, Mercury's just, he doesn't have any problems there. But you end up even that.
Temperature, yeah.
You end up where I do a couple things I like in this. I do like the hand glider Metamorpho, the Batman's flying. You know, that's pretty fun. And then when they go down, Batman is, and this is, like you said, getting people up to speed if they didn't know who the Metal Men were. But I like how it ends up being this
hand
back
glider
and forth.
Metamorpho just comes off to be more of a Plastic Man situation than a Metamorpho
does, actually, but it is kind of a weird deal with this little head they're talking. And even then, I like where the dialogue, Batman says, apparently my suspicions I had about you were misguided, Rex. And Metamorpho goes, apology accepted. Whoa, 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 buddy, I didn't apologize. He just said, that's not what I said. I won't say I'm sorry for being objective. He's an asshole, right? So he starts going, Rex is already mad. So when you end up where he's like, the Metal Men, and he's like, I know all about the Metal Men, and he finishes the deal. So it doesn't feel as forced the deal, but he does end up talking about Mercury, which I thought was funny because anybody who has read any of the Metal Men know that Mercury doesn't have anything but saying that he is liquid
and he's liquid at room temperature.
Room temperature, that's all. But I love where he's like, he's always gassing about it. Who cares? It is true. Nobody cares. But
it is such a weird thing to go to the idea of android duplicates for this whole storyline. Like, I like the idea, like I said before, because I liked it from the animated series when I saw that stuff before. But when we have it going on, I don't know if it's meant to be something or just like a foreshadowing. When we are in the Fortress of Solitude, when Clark is talking to Bruce, you see all the production of the Superman robots that he has in the background that are perfect duplicates of Superman. And I'm like, is that going to tie in? Because I don't know how it can for everything that we have in this issue with, Dr. Magnus being kidnapped and working on, AI brains for Professor Ivo's, android duplicates to the point where he wants to frame Rex Mason for all this going down for the murder of Simon Stagg. And then he's like, look, I can't have him be framed without making a duplicate of him. And here's something I made as well, a perfect duplicate of Rex Mason. But I also allowed him to make other things besides for normal elements. Here's kryptonite as well. Where this is like, and I'm looking at the same, like, look, I understand Metamorpho is a weird looking dude. And like, everyday Joe guy who's going to arrest Metamorpho. I don't know how they're going to, but I don't know who knows what Rex Mason really just looks like, but if anybody who knows him is going to look at this monster that Professor Ivor's
he just decided, like, at the point. I think that one of the plays here is that you even have that Bruce Wayne half done, and they're like, oh, well, he gave it up because of the idea that Bruce was arrested. Well, now I don't think he can or will be framing Metamorpho, I guess, at this point. The whole idea.
This just doesn't look anything like Metamorpho to me. It just looks like,
started and he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to make another Amazo that goes over the top. But I didn't. I thought that was kind of
Metamazo.
Yeah, because he does look more like Amazo in the head. So I think that he just started off Metamorpho, and then once Bruce Wayne happened, he's like, fuck it, I'll keep going with the Amazo deal. But in that, I do kind of think that that's a smart deal. He wanted to make these body doubles to get all these billionaires. That they're funneling the money to one account that's his is a little bit, like, really stupid. But you end up where they can't. And that's why the big play was, Dr. Ivo, Professor Ivo, he ended up making these, but they weren't smart enough. That's why you need Magnus, you get the brains, you get all this. So they have the responsometers, which I don't know, maybe because it's weird to say like Gold is yelling for help if he didn't have the responsometer in there, that those were taken and I don't know. But
no, I'm sure they're still in there.
Yeah, the whole idea of this, though, is to use Magnus to make them so that it would be believable that these dupes, they weren't just walking around like, morons. They were trying to duplicate.
I am Simon Stagg.
Exactly. I am Oliver Queen. Oh, my.
Eureka, I did it.
Social
Perfect
justice.
Human speech.
Shoot arrows. Yeah. So they ended up. I like that. It does seem like you would have Dr. Magnus is doing this unwillingly. He's kind of, made to do it. We'll have to see.
No, and you have all the doctors like this, because even when you had, Will Magnus have all his psychological problems that he did go evil for a time, like having him, Professor Ivo, and a T.O. Morrow together, like all the mad scientists of the DC universe, that's always a good time in my mind.
Yeah. And I like even when they're going through the idea that all of these, doubles that are there. And so, what are these for Superman? No, they're for the boy. We have something better for you.
The boy.
And I hit the boy. And then at one point, Superman realizes that there's kryptonite coming in, and we get a kryptonite infused, and can turn into any element on the periodic chart and beyond. He could be Batmanium or whatever. You can end up where that nonsense.
Well, that's the thing, is maybe, because it hasn't been made yet, but I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? It's still
Metamazo.
made. It could still be an element out there. Metamazo. So yeah, you have this, and it looks pretty cool at the end, and that's a pretty cool ending for the chapter. Pretty cool cliffhanger. And I like the art a lot. The art is always
the art's
good.
Amazing.
And each time I've read this is, I think, the third time now, I actually like it a little more. It becomes a little more, congruent and a little more clever with the way it plays out. Yeah, there's some little downtimes, but I think that some of those are just for fun. The robot fight. You get to see Superman punch a robot's head off. Everybody loves that, right?
I just don't know why the robots are out of control at that point in time. And the thing is, this might be a very well-established character, but like I said previously, I don't know if it was on the Patreon or last week, we were talking about the books coming up, but the idea that, like, you can put a gun in my head and you say, name the top 5 Metamorpho villains. I'm going to die right there, because Metamorpho is a character I know. Don't know him very well, though, let alone his goddamn villains. But when you have these characters like this, like, you have this robot army, and we can see a bunch of robot armies, and then out of nowhere, this gigantic mechs that are destroying his city. I'm like, what's happening here?
Yeah, here's the thing. Most of the Metamorpho villains are going to be the Batman and the Outsiders villains. That's kind of how it ended up seeming. But I did look, and I was sending you some wacky ones, because there's a bunch that he's fought. But I did find somebody who had a Metamorpho page, right? And then they had a list. Now, I think it's only four. No, it's five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They had a list of the big villains of Metamorpho. Number 1, Simon Stagg, Eric.
Yes, obviously.
Sense. Number
Java.
2, Bounty Hunter. And I think Simon Stagg had
Old
Java
Bounty
like a
Hunter.
big Bounty Hunter. Number 3, Baron Bedlam.
Okay.
Number 4 is Agamemno. And then number 5 is
The old
Injustice
Agamemnon.
League.
I can't even
There
say
you
that.
go. Yeah, I know I have problems too. But yeah, I had none of the guys in here. But you end up where he was going through that whole, Doc Dredd, that was a Doomsday Clock deal, but it seemed to be playing off the Terrifics
That's
thing
strong
as well.
villains.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, and it's, again, we often say that a hero is often elevated by his villains, but either or, Metamorpho isn't well known.
Metamorpho is elevated by the outsiders, and not even everybody cares about all the outsiders.
And that's the thing about it. Metamorpho, I think he's a cool enough kid. Reggie loved him, but he's good on a team. He's got to be on a team, the way that it plays out. But what would you give this?
Ultimately, because how good the art is, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because the story, I think, is intriguing. I want to see where it goes, but there is a lot of downtime in this and just like weird leaps in logic. Like, oh no, I can't leave my house because people are suspecting me of murder until you have to just do Batman stuff and it doesn't matter anymore. That was a problem for me. And even the stuff when we have the robot army for no reason, just being out of control and we just have an extended fight scene didn't do anything for me with the story except for, hey, Superman gets to punch some robots. I'm not really here for that. I'm actually intrigued in the whole idea of what's going on in the story. That just felt like a bit of filler to me. But with that, I still had fun here. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, like I said.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
You're a man, Eric. You don't want fun. I'm giving it an 8.5. I really liked it. I had fun, and I liked the art. And with it, Jimmy wants to have fun, Eric. And especially this week, we're going to get a lot of issues that have a lot of fan service. But there's something about this World's Finest book that the fan service doesn't feel as forced, and it feels kind of fun and neat to me. It's neato, Eric.
It's
but
neato.
I do enjoy it. But what are we doing next?
Superman, number 3, written by Joshua Williamson with art by Jamal Campbell and Ariana Mayer on letters. And that's it. And in this issue, if anybody remembers from previously, we had a whole bunch of parasites going around, little clone parasites. That parasite problem has evolved into all these things, and they became nano parasites. They infected people's blood, and people all over Metropolis are turning into parasites, including our superhero, Superman, by the end of last issue. The only problem with that is everybody is all insatiable with their hunger because now they're all parasites. They fucking become monsters all throughout. Superman becoming a parasite, oh my god, where could this go? And the answer is, it doesn't mean anything. He's still just Superman, but he looks like Parasite, and he's gonna immediately come to the problem and solve it by breaking into Stryker's Island, getting Lex Luthor, getting Livewire, saying, Livewire, Lex over here is gonna strap you down to the chair. We're gonna go to Supercorp, and we're gonna amplify your electric powers to where it draws in all the parasites, but also draws them out of people, and then they're gonna electrocute themselves to the point of being overstimulated to the where the real parasite, Rudy Jones, is gonna come in and just start eating himself whole. And that's the thing, is like, I like the idea of Parasite. We don't get enough of my mind, and every time we do get him out within the last 10 years, it's always like a weird cameo where he's screwed over by Superman or Wonder Woman or Batman. But this whole idea of Parasite on the loose, it's cool. If you're going to evolve him, cool. That's like, give me some time though. We're issue number 3 and we resolve the issue completely by the end here. And just dealing with the idea where I want to see Livewire. And that was my problem with the first issue, where we only got a cold open where Livewire had a whole situation that Superman had to resolve, but we never got to see it. We saw her being arrested, put it in Stryker's Island, to the point where she's just there now to be the solution to our problem that came in here, and within 3 issues, everything's resolved. That's a little too easy, a little too fast for me, especially because Superman being a parasite, that's a great big goddamn deal. And within 1 issue, not half an issue, it's resolved. And I'm like, why is everything on fast forward that we're dealing with here?
I don't know. And the thing that really shocks me, again, you had Superman in this issue. He comes in, he shows up as a pair. Oh my God, look at this. And the last issue, cliffhanger. Oh my God, Lois and Jimmy, they're like, all these things are ramping up. Oh my God, how we're going to get out of this?
The stakes.
Who ordered the steak? The idea of all this is, it's one of those tropes when you're reading comics where I hate when the finale of this is so much less than the, kind of like the promise of the setup. When you get this whole deal, because when we start this out, it feels big. It feels cool. And the problem with me and you, especially, and I'll talk for you, Eric, like you talk about Green Arrow fans or talk for them. You talk about them as well. But I will say that me and you were very wary of some of the storytelling deals of a Joshua Williamson, that sometimes he has some good ideas and then they fall apart. A lot of times he changes them up, they get wacky. But one of our big things is ending stories, and they kind of end with a thud. And this does, because of the fact that it felt bigger. And so you have this whole thing with these villains in the background. But right now, I'm here for Parasite and Livewire. Let's see where you're going. Livewire ends up by the end of this issue only feeling like a prop that showed up because she needed to. Doesn't feel natural. And then at the end, there's so much more that you could do with Parasite, who is not really used that much. Like we talk about it. You said
Oh, my God. Even by the end, it's like Lex Luthor is there because we have to have him because we broke into the prison to get him out. But the idea, this is all he's wanted for the last 2 issues, for Superman to break him out so he can help Superman resolve the issue now that he's given him Supercorp, which is the former LexCorp. But when you have the idea, then it's like, all right, I'm Lex Luthor. And we subdued Parasite, all the clones are gone, and now he's a gigantic heaping mess of fuck because of him eating the entire bit of clones that he had. Well, I'm going to inject him with this. It's going to take out the radiation. Originally did it that we never knew nothing about, but he just, and it's just resolved because we had a gun that he has an injector to do this, so it'll take out the specific radiation that this thing to evolve him to this point. And now the thing is, we can complain about it here because it is on the fast track. It's on fast forward, something fierce.
I like the stuff with Lex and Superman, though. I love
that's always good
parts,
in my mind.
Yeah.
But when you have the idea, like, maybe this is very easy for us to see, like, oh my God, why is everything so easily resolved? When the idea is, it is the long game where we have to see how Lex was behind everything, and this is why he has everything ready to go when he does, because he's not in on it, but has prepared for the situation at hand because he knows who the foes are.
Yeah, but it's weird. I mean,
it's very weird.
This Parasite thing doesn't seem like, I think that, by the end, Howard Stern, the villain, along with the other, they're talking and they're like, wait till Superman
Dr.
finds
Farm
out.
And Howard Stern.
Yeah, wait till they find out. Wait till Superman finds out what Lex really did and whatnot. I just think that those villains were set up by Lex at one point for being yet another Superman attack squad. And then almost like, and the thing that worries me.
I think they're more rejects from Smallville from the days in high school.
You say that, I'm thinking of the idea where, okay, Joshua Williamson, please don't make this like a almost mirror image of that. I'm going to do my own Batman Incorporated and make my own like he did on the Batman book for that little bit he was on. I hope that's not it, but
still dealing the ramifications of that.
Yeah. And even then, are we? Because I think they've given up looking for those things and now they're just getting attacked by Joker Inc. But you end up where all this going down, like Superman smashing through the window as a parasite. First off, not really like he's become Parasite like everybody else. And we're like, okay, well, what does this mean? How is this going to go? But yet, because of the way the issue has to go, Superman could just fight through it. He just ends up really being like a Frankenstein Bizarro to me, go there, live. Like, it doesn't really affect that. Lex barely even bats an eye, just like, how did you get it? Were the microbes in the air? Now, maybe that's a little too much information that he might know, like you said, but they are microscopic. Breathe in. I'm like, what is going on? Then you go and Livewire's okay, hungry. But Livewire's just there to yell jokes.
Don't eat me!
Don't eat me! Don't eat me!
Well, and even the idea where we are breaking out Lex Luthor, because where we saw him when he was initially arrested, where it looked like that whole Magneto fortress from the first X-Men movie.
We're jumping back and forth with that, right?
Every other time we see him, he's just in a regular cell. And it seems like even when Superman breaks into his cell to get to him and Livewire, it's just a regular cell. Later on, he's back in that gigantic containment room like it's from Magneto and the X-Men before. So I don't even know what Lex is doing. Is this just where he has to go for have his, PT time?
I don't know. Maybe he had good behavior. They put him in a regular cell so he could do his things, and then he's there. That's just solitary. But it's a weird play because Superman comes in and I'm expecting more. And so when you get to, you nailed the one
part.
Fight
the hunger, something.
Yeah. At this point, I'm like, okay, what's going on? He ends up putting on the hazmat Superman suit. I'm gonna confuse them and do this. I'm like, things are just throwing out of nowhere. They're just being presented to you.
It looks great. Here's a containment suit that we have for Supercorp that was all made for Superman because everything now at LexCorp has been made for Superman for him to fight the best of his ability and to bring truth, justice, and a better tomorrow for all. When we have him as a parasite, thinking about the idea of him as a parasite monster, taking the time to change into a containment suit, and all this containment suit does, it's just going to hide me from the parasite clones, but not Rudy Jones. Well, how's that? We're not talking about that. It's just the parasite clones.
And also, I understand that, Lex may have it. How did he know that was there? He goes and gets it. Then he's still the parasite when he's using
one of those giant like versions of the suit, so a parasite Superman could get it on.
Yeah, and so when he ends up like right at the right time, he's there. He has that, and then you have Livewire still screaming, "They're coming to eat me." The light goes up, and then everybody's, all the parasites, including microscopic ones, they're all going at it. Superman's
out of people.
Superman's immediately cured. I mean, and there's where, like, I know this is a comic book, but the science of this is like, okay, the microbes were in them, but then the microbe, little teeny weeny, little, parasites, they've now gone out, and now he's just Superman again.
You have Livewire amplifying a gigantic S symbol into the sky, full of electricity, all this power of Metropolis, being this giant beacon for the parasite clones. But I also wanted there to be a bit of a struggle because on top of this, you have the nanite parasites going into people, eating off of them, and then transforming people into parasites who then want to feed and feed and feed, just like a normal Rudy Jones. I want the idea where you have this gigantic beacon in the sky that is, drawing all of the parasite clones in, but the ones inside Superman,
why would they leave?
They are feeding off an energy source that's been absorbing the sun for 30 years at this point in time with all the power in the world that you could possibly need. Hell, that's all Rudy wants is to feed off him.
Rudy says it. That's what I'm saying.
That's
Rudy actually points it out.
But the nanite parasites inside, I'm like, no, we want that electricity over there for some reason.
That's the thing. That's one of the biggest things that I complained about is the idea that Rudy later says, oh my God, you're the best. I'm not going there. I'm going to get on you. And Superman has to kind of convince him. But why would the rest go? That he should still be full out. I thought at the point where I'm like, okay, you kind of see, I don't know that you can tell it's a hazmat suit, but once you get to it, when he's putting the thing, I thought that he was doing this because, and we see he's changed, but if he didn't, I don't want anybody else to be infected. Once we get everybody else out, then, then we'll deal with me. But no, it's just done. And it just feels weird.
Because imagine that. Like, I can see saving everybody else, but by the end, Superman is still infected by a parasite thing. Where maybe you fly into the sun, but I feel like you're just going to suck off the sun at that point in time and not do anything else with it.
Leave them in there. They could be big in the sun.
That is a continued idea of the drama the story could have, because Superman has saved everybody. But now, like, is it a bigger problem that he saved everybody and now the most powerful being in the universe is the parasite? Now everybody else has to deal with that. This is some cool stuff, but it's all just washed away.
And how about this? How about this? With the thing, you have that happen. We already said that Lex seems a little sus, that he has, it seems like he has all the things that would end up working out for this.
Yeah.
Well, the way that I would think that you would get them out of Superman then after this fight is, and it's the opposite of the sun. You were right. You have to get him in a spot somewhere here where there is no sun and can suck the power out of him so that they don't have anything. And Lex suddenly has a chamber to do that. Superman's like, what the fuck do you have this for? Like, why would you have this? But you don't do anything. It's just boom, boom, boom. No. And it's almost a decontamination, but it's like a decharged Superman deal.
And even the idea with that, I could even see Lex explain it in a way where you have the solar suit that brought Superman back to life after he died. This is a D-solar suit to try to kill a Superman.
Like,
why wouldn't he have the opposite of something that powers up a Superman? Because Lex Luthor should have something like that.
And it'd be funny. It's like, why do you, like, hey, Lex, I thought you were down with me. Why'd you have that? He's like, hey, old habits are hard to break, my friend. I'm like Peter Cetera. You end up where all this is going on, though, and
I'm a genius, but I'm a bit of a hoarder.
I want to just point out right now, the things that we're getting angry about, it's not because the story sucks. The actual concepts are pretty good and have us very intrigued.
Has some amazing things that could happen from it.
Joshua Williamson does not use them. He just snaps his fingers and everything is solved. And I had some people arguing with me on the video deal of this, saying, well, what do you expect? This is the sequential storytelling and things like that. And I'm like, no. I expect a story that has a really good setup to have a really good payoff and continue. You have 2 more issues of this before it shuts down to get to the whole Night Terrors, right? I would have rather have had 2 more issues of this. I wish that, because by the end, you're already setting up a book. This is what I complain about when we get to Nightwing. Not this issue, but overall, like, Nightwing never struggles because he has now, in this, Superman, one of the biggest plays is he's boring because he's too powerful. You're setting up something here that's really interesting to set up that Superman is in real trouble. He might need Lex and all that. And then you just kind of snap your fingers and it's over. And once Lex says, oh, it's the radiation, I'm like, why are you adding things in at the last second and then have a gun to fix it just so, and again, just a plot device to have Superman say, you know what? You were the one who kept them from that radiation.
You
they checked
saved
it out.
Rudy. You know what? Maybe you aren't as bad as I should give you the benefit of the doubt, Lex. And you know what? Maybe we can change the world together like you've been saying nonstop in my ear while you've been in prison. You know what you deserve, buddy? Big old bald buddy you. A Jimmy Sonic watch like I have for Jimmy Olsen over there.
Just don't tell Jimmy. He's going to be jealous as shit.
But it's a weird thing, too, for the idea of him having, the Superman watch when he's done nothing but talk in Superman's ear. And Superman even says throughout the storyline, I can't tune Lex out. I'm always listening for his voice.
You say this also. You have that going on. Maybe this is the play of, shut your fucking mouth. And no, I love it where he's like, oh, man. Also, when he gets it, it really does look like an engagement ring. I'm like, finally, Lex, you got what you wanted.
Conjugal visits.
He's like, now that you're not Parasite, can you suck still? Oh, my God. So you have all that going down. All I need now is the prison guards to come and beat the shit out of Lex and take that watch. What is he going to shove it up his ass like we're Pulp Fiction? All that too. And then what I really need is Jimmy's like, where's Superman? And you see on the top of the Daily Planet that Superman and Lex, they're eating hot dogs and burritos. Oh my God, Jimmy would lose his mind. Now we could just have the book. Superman's pal Lex Luthor. This would be the greatest thing
I'd
ever.
Read the shit out of that book.
I hope that's
one of those weird things.
I need that book, Eric. It'd be the best.
Lex Luthor is the biggest bad that Superman has. I am always pro Luthor because while he is a megalomaniacal maniac and does things the worst of, I can understand the idea of not wanting to be under the thumb of some godlike being.
Though, right?
Exactly. So when he became Super Lex and wanted to do good, I thought this was a great turn for the character, something that, you don't normally see. And that was never really developed to the point, yes, he was on the Justice League for a hot minute, and then Superman just kept not trusting him to the point where, well, fuck you, I'm going to do bad stuff because you never trusted me. Now we're eventually getting back to the point with Supercorp where we can get to that idea once again and hopefully develop more than we had previously. And even when we have the idea of the foes of Lex Luthor, so we're not dealing with Superman baddies, we're dealing with Lex Luthor baddies, and this is even bigger than Superman's ever dealt with, and that's why you need a Lex Luthor. So when you have your mad scientists at the end, including Dr. Farm and shirtless Howard Stern in a wheelchair talking about the next phase of their plan now that they've done this and dissected the Bizarro for some God only knows reason. When he says, let's find our next test subject, and you see Silver Banshee on the screen, I'm like, yes, I can deal with the Silver Banshee story at this point in time because you have all of these super stories, all these books, Action Comics, Superman, everything all the time for years and years and years. But for some reason, it never really feels that we ever get a lot of Superman villains in any of the stories. And here, finally, they're done quickly in 3 issues, but it feels like we're finally getting more than we had previously, at least in the villain department. I just hope we have more time to deal with them in future stories than we did here.
And so when you have this, the Parasite stuff, and even when he's like, thanks, Superman, and then he eats too much, oh my God, it's Mr. Creosote. He's going to blow. And then they just shoot him, and he passes out like me on Thanksgiving or at the buffet.
Tryptophan.
Yeah, it is. It ends up there where he goes to sleep. Like, the stuff with Lex and Superman. And
oh my God, what's wrong with Rudy? Food coma.
Exactly. And so when you have this, the thing that worries me is the things that I get excited about this issue kind of might end up, and I'm worried they'll end up the same things that we were excited about Parasite. Oh my God, this will be cool. I just hope that this isn't a blueprint of we're going to get things and then just end them real quick. Now, this could be a result of Joshua Williamson had some things going on, and then suddenly, even though he seems to be in charge of Night Terrors, your summertime spooky event, Eric, but maybe this wasn't going to be a thing. It really is weird to have these books coming out, this Dawn of DC, and then all of a sudden they stop. So maybe he did have to finagle things. Maybe what we're seeing is something that is stopped a little ahead of time so you can get these 2 other issues in before. And just, I hope that the 2-month, of not having the book, well, I hope people, keep going with it and like, okay, I'll time.
I just imagine the idea is like, all right, we got to stop this story because for the next 2 issues before we hit Night Terrors, we got to deal with the spirit of Metropolis.
Well, that's what I'm worried about.
Ghost girl, a cowgirl, because the idea of coming out of Night Terrors, that's not the strongest story to jump back into for a Superman in my mind.
But I think, not mark my words, but we'll see if I'm right. What you have to do, and all these books, most of them will be ending in June. You better hit with the craziest ass cliffhangers in June. Like, not the nonsense of,
back.
I think Superman's
just in case
dead,
Night Terror sucks.
Oh, I'm telling you, you have to go really hard with that so people are like, holy shit, I don't care if I have to wait through the spookiest months of the year. I'm coming back. And it can't be, oh my God, we're going to get the ghost of the Rootin'.
The spirit of Metropolis.
That sounds fun, actually. And I thought it was funny.
Moonlight.
And it's funny because really, I wish, because Lois is I wish Jimmy was on that case, because I told you I thought Jimmy was going to be involved in that.
Sent
that would have
back
been
in
hilarious.
time.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be all that Jimmy nonsense. And plus, he's pissed. He's no longer Superman's pal. It's Lex. One thing that was
you send Jimmy back in time to the Old West dealing with a living Marilyn Moonlight before she becomes a ghost, and for some reason Jimmy is the reason that she becomes the spirit of Metropolis by the end. Something along those lines. Now this book is even feeling more like a world's finest Batman Superman Silver Age kind of story.
It is. Well, when this podcast, we're going to have a lot of books that I kind of get that idea that some of these books, and I don't mind having. I want to have fun. You know, the Dawn of DC stuff in this, it's a little more important, but I don't mind having fun. And really, a Lex teaming up with Superman. Me and you both like Super Lex at the beginning of Rebirth that Dan Jurgens was doing in Action Comics. We liked it a lot. Kind of fizzled out. So we're back to that. And like you said, he was even on the Justice League. Some of the things that Lex have done, though, that he proves that he's a decent enough guy. He knows Bruce Wayne's Batman. He doesn't tell anybody. He keeps that a secret. Also, the idea of all of this going on, people seem, and this week even, people were upset about Lex. Kind of, I don't need this Lex. This is just like Norman Osborn being a good guy with Peter. It's not quite like that. I don't get that feel as much of that. Like, it's a different feel. Like you said, Lex, he's bad, but he has that focus where he has good intentions. Norman's just insane most of the time.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I love Norman Osborn as a villain through and through because that's who he is.
I think that's what it is.
It is. It's a Green Goblin tattoo that I've had for over. How long has it been now? How old am I? Oh my God, 25 years. But the idea, though, Lex Luthor can walk that line. It's like the idea of almost a deadly duo where we got a Batman and Joker story, if this was the case, but then it's not, where the Joker's like, I'm a good guy now. I'm just going to do Batman stuff. And that's like, you can't have situations like that because Norman Osborn is essentially like the Joker to Peter Parker.
Yeah, it's not the same to me.
Lex is not the same at all.
No, and I love where you get Lex and why I think that Lex is great, even as a villain, but as a hero type deal, you always are waiting to see, and everything comes back to Lex. I mean, he does things for himself, even when he's a hero. So it looks like he's doing sus things, but he might not be, but he might be, and he does some really really crazy stuff, but in his way. And so I like it. And in this
way,
I think that basically...
Hashtag Lex is right.
Exactly. I think that basically in this, he sees that whatever this group is, they're back. He does seem to realize this. He knows that they're badass and he's in trouble. I do think he's using Superman for his own deal, but the hope is that maybe he can... like what he's doing and maybe help
for his own deal.
I mean, you know that eventually he's going to do some other bad things and do some. But in this, I think that he is using Superman, but I don't feel like he's being full out like he wants to hurt. So I think he needs Superman's help.
Even outside of this, I just want to have that moment, almost like we had with when Wally West started working at Terrific Tech, or even walking through the Flash Museum and all the stuff they have in the back room stuff. The idea of Superman having the Fortress of Solitude, that's always all-inspiring. But having a corporate company building that's just dedicated to super science for the use of Superman, I'm like, I want to go and have that moment where we just walk through and see all the Q-like gizmos like in Bond or something along those lines. Like, what is Supercorp doing to make Superman a better Superman? That's amazing to me. I want to see more of that. And like when we first started talking about that in the first issue of Superman, it always reminds me of the 5th season of Angel, when he started getting the demonic law from Wolfram and Hart.
What
are you going to do with what are you going to do with all these resources now, Angel? And are you selling your soul to the devil to have all these things? And it's just like that here. And I love that dynamic in storytelling. I just hope we get more very soon.
Yeah. And I'd love to see, as they're walking through, see some of the things that, like you said, working on, but maybe even the people who are working on them, we might get to see some classic characters and things like that.
And then at Star Labs, you have a mess up in the lab where all of a sudden we're blown to the freaking antimatter universe and we have to have an adventure down there because of what Supercorp did.
Exactly. Now, the other thing that I think should be brought up by Lex, and maybe Joshua Williamson should have this in the story. I mean, yeah, it's fine and dandy when you're like, oh, that damn alien Superman, but Jesus Christ, since then, I mean, you can't walk through the streets without bumping into 7 aliens. I mean, there's so many more. So the idea that Superman's the one, oh, we can't trust this dirty alien, I think that by now Lex might be able to realize, okay, he might be the better of them, but he still can't get out of his own way because he wants to be the authority. He wants to be the big thing. So I do really like that. But Parasite stuff, it fizzled out. And you just ended up throwing things, and that definitely affected my score. Also, I told you to look. That last panel that has Superman when he's like, let's get to work. I'm like, who is that dude? He looks ugly. He looks like he got hit by a truck. That.
I love Jamal Campbell's art throughout this whole thing, but for some reason, I really don't like the way he draws Clark Kent.
I don't
Clark
like
Kent
it.
Come out at the end. I don't know if it's just the glasses, the shape of his head to that gigantic body that he has. Something feels off to me about that Clark Kent. But otherwise, I think this book looks great. And another thing that we have in this that we didn't talk about, which I think is a really great moment, is when Lois and Clark are discussing what they're going to do with Supercorp and everything that's going on. And they just take time to dance while the rest of the family get a room. It's nothing big, but it's just nice.
To me, that's just the Bendis shit that at the end of an issue, you just throw shit to people, go, he gets it. I don't need that. Though I did hear that they were listening to Fuck Her Gently by Tenacious D. That was the song. That's why you have Kara. I love that song.
The thing is, I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's no goddamn music playing. I don't know how you insane people are talking about.
She says, I love that song, and there's something's going on. Maybe they're just listening to some radio station in, Philadelphia. Maybe they're listening to Preston and Steve for you. Well, they have super hearing. They can listen to whatever. But yeah, they're dancing around in the air. I just thought that was okay, we have to have the obligatory Lois and Clark hugging and a kissing. All right.
And it was a nice moment.
Yeah, it's just, I've almost been desensitized to that nonsense when we didn't get what I wanted in the other part. So that didn't give me any sort of thrills or jollies like you, Eric.
Well, maybe if Superman punched some robots, you'd be happier about it.
Yeah, actually. Or throw them into the sun. That'd be cool. But what would you give this?
Ultimately, I think the story falls flat, even though I do love the art and the ideas behind it, like we talked about through this whole thing, but nothing about this finale felt like it was earned at all. It just came to a conclusion because it had to, and we're going to move on. So ultimately, because I'm going to give it a 6.3 out of 10.
I'm a 7. I'm a 7 out of 10. That's a lot with the art. And I love when, I didn't say this, Eric, I love when they're dancing at the end. That annoyed me. It really did. Again, I didn't like the dancing that went on later in the podcast, too. I just don't like dancing. I am the John Lithgow of podcasters, Eric. You dance, you're out. Get out of town, Eric. I don't need them. But we're going to go off right now to some mail. It is time for the mail. And if you want to be part of the mail and be a star like Eric Shea, all you have to do is email us at weirdScienceDCComics@gmail.com. Just like Craig, and we haven't heard from Craig in a while. Craig is back. He's ready for the attack. He says, Dear Jim and Eric, he remembers the proper deal of how you do this. What's been, 1, the funniest, 2, the stupidest book you've read since doing the podcast? And mine are one and the same, but I will let you go first.
I figured the funniest book that we've done on here was All-Star Section 8 during was that the DCYOU era that we had?
That was the DCYOU, and then it continued with another thing.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as the original one, but I'm saying that would have been the funniest thing I think that we did. And the stupidest, it's really a toss-up because there's been so many, and the thing is, like, bad and stupid go hand in hand to me sometimes, but just overall just trying to decipher what was going on, some of the concepts, it might have to be Steve Orlando's JLA run from Rebirth era.
But couldn't that have been the funnest, Eric?
No, it wasn't.
The funniest. Well, mine kind of goes to combo, but you're right. That All-Star Section 8 was up there. Now, some of the things that I think of when I'm thinking, what would it be, what not? And I only keep thinking of just little things that pop up, not books themselves, but even something like a Stephanie Phillips with The Whom, with the whole Solomon Grundy. We laughed so much, but that's not the funniest book, but that moment was so funny. And we've had a lot of those moments like that, but the stupidest to me, but the one that I had the most fun and laughed the most at, it had to be that Endo said to Catwoman. We ended up laughing so much, but when you said about the Steve Orlando stuff, that was just the same, but that drove us nuts. But
all right. I just had another idea, maybe another contender. I don't know if it's going to sway you at all, but just think back to Convergence, the Atom.
Well, and I'm telling you, the big hand, I actually thought of that.
The Dave Grohl hand for no reason.
Dave Grohl Everlong hand that didn't go by any of the rules. Yeah, that, even in the whole deal with the whole Duke of Wellington, all this stuff always
the Duke
goes
of Wellington was just a weird afterthought to that convention. Where, like, Here's
but it
a
was
page for
funny.
Duke Wellington quote for no reason.
That goes with me with the idea of like little bits and pieces of things are funny, but I'm telling you, and I could even go with the Katana book from Ann Nocenti. I could even go with the, what was it? With the Witch Boy deal.
Clarion, yeah.
Clarion, the Witch Boy. Like, those books were so bad that, I mean, that time when you ended up having that villain yelling at Katana that her husband didn't like her because she couldn't make the bed. And that she burns
Don't
eggs.
say that.
And she was getting driven nuts. And like, no.
You burn toast. No.
Yeah, it was the burnt toast. That was the big, but that race of thieves, Eric, it was so bad that it was so hilarious, especially at the end. But even when I went back to look, because I'm like, okay, during that, and I mentioned this a little bit ago when we talked about the race of thieves wasn't even the only thing going on. There was also a murder mystery going on from like 100 years prior with this family, and it made no damn sense. It made no damn sense. It was so
another
hilarious.
Contender for an entire series, but it was the pre-Rebirth era Justice League of America, where Brian Hitch had his JLA run. It's another JLA book, which is crazy, where it was like a 12-issue run for just his JLA of just no real time frame. It was just his JLA, and it was so bad.
Let's keep going. Midnighter by Steve Orlando. While a lot of people liked it at one point, and even when it came back, and I didn't know what the third rail was. But even that with, again, JLA with Pistol Shrimp, and all this nonsense that we were like,
the JLA by Steve Orlando was really bad. Had the opportunity to be amazing with that crazy cast of characters, which I always love of a JLA, but the dialogue and storytelling were just off from the get-go.
I remember when I ended up reading it before you because I was reviewing it, and I said, get this, because you kept talking to me, talking up old Prometheus. Oh my God, this guy took down
one of the greatest threats.
He got taken out by a random lady who was on a tour with a taser.
Prometheus.
Oh my God. Remember
how the mighty have fallen.
At the end, that all became this push for that, Justice League foundation that they were going to have.
The Justice Foundation never got there.
That never got there. That was pretty fun, though. I mean, these are the things that we had the most fun talking about.
I can't make it to the point where, and again, we say we had the most fun. I think it was the most fun for people to listen to us talk about. I did not have fun talking about it because it was bad. Now, when I'm talking about the idea of what's the funniest or most fun book,
the funniest, I think that All-Star Section 8 was really, really
because that was made to be funny and it worked out. But other things were so bad, I can't sit back like, man, this is so bad because I still have to sit there and read it, and I know I'm going to spend about 45 minutes talking about it. It's going to drive me nuts.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, probably the All-Star Section 8 is funniest. But boy, there was some unintentionally funny books. I mean, even the stuff with like a Lobo on Stormwatch. He's like, oh, the fuck am I doing here? Though I did end up reading something that's going to be coming out down the line, that Ed Brisson Stormwatch story that's going to be in The Brave and the Bold. That ends up having just as crazy a team that I don't know why those guys are there. But yeah, I guess. But some of the things are just usually moments for me that stick out. And I'm telling you, that Stephanie Phillips home, that ends up being one of the funniest things from the past. I even like tonight, when you ended up having
polo match.
Metamorpho talking also shit on that. That was a fun time, yelling about the Mercury. But the polo match was fun too. I always like that sort of thing. But that is that. But yeah.
Just not dancing.
Stupidest though. Did you say you said the JLA and stuff like that. I'm telling you, anything by Ann Nocenti in the New 52 was just pretty straight up made no damn sense. And there's been other things. When I think of stuff, I think it was Marguerite Benet that did that Lois Lane one-shot that was just bullshit. There was a lot of real bullshit. We had that one-shot come out for Lois Lane, but also we had an Amanda Waller one-shot that came out as well. And then there was like weird things that came out, and then you had the series. Nonsense. Anything with Joker's daughter back in the day was pretty much lame, but
it could have been so good.
Again, just fun little tidbits, though. Again, that I always think of was when Damian ended up throwing shade at Roy. Okay, trucker hat. Like, that shit was fun.
It was a redneck man, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that. But I know he said something about the hat as well. It was just nonsense. Now, some people will like the Bat Burger, Eric, and
some people.
I didn't like that. So there you go. I just brought us down. But thank you, Craig. And the next mail and the last mail, it's a quick mail section, is from Barry. And Barry says, hey, Jim and Eric. I recently found out about your podcast through Jim being on the Comic Aficionado show on Saturdays and his YouTube videos, and I'm so glad I did. I love how everything you guys do has a different feel to it, especially this podcast, which is hilarious. Do you two...
We did it, Jim.
Do you two really hate each other? That was Yes, we do.
Sometimes.
Sometimes I get so angry. Oh, my goodness.
Sometimes he kicks a computer and shuts everything down.
We haven't gotten angry in a while, but there are sometimes. LOL, he said then. I just wanted to ask Eric, though. This is the question for you. I just wanted to ask Eric why he hasn't been on the Comic Aficionado show, because I think he would be great. I know what you're going to say. And you're going to set yourself up. Okay, that's better. I thought you were going to say, I've never been invited. And then I would have gotten you invited. So there you go. I would like to be on with you. Oh, my goodness. Says, thanks for all the work, and I plan on joining the Patreon soon. Says Barry. So that's cool. Yeah, Eric, you can just show up. You'll get yelled at in the comments section like I do. And,
I wouldn't look at the comments.
I know. I actually thought the idea, because me and you are very similar, that we don't like to branch out. We don't like to, we get nervous with new people.
I'm not a people person.
And neither am I. And I think that, like, the first time I was on the show, I was so nervous. Now I'm just like, whatever. I'm just going to yell shit. I just yell random stuff is what I do, Eric. But my problem is, I don't know if everybody realizes this, is I end up, once I get going, though, I don't shut up. So I end up being told a lot to shut up, and then I'm mad about it for a whole week.
And then I have to hear about it.
Yeah, I even tell you, I'm like, wait till you hear what they said. And then the comments, and they're against me. Just because I said on that show that I think that the concept of Ray wasn't bad. It was just the execution of her.
And then Star Wars, right?
Yeah, and then somebody said, no, Ray Lewis. They ended up, somebody ended up saying,
like, you mean the character from DC Comics, the Ray?
Yeah, so then they ended up where, when I said that, somebody said, and I think it was a guy, Yule, well, the concept is just Luke. And I'm like, yeah, great concept. But nobody bats an eye that Luke goes from, hey, I got the Womp Rats. Not only just the idea where he blows up the Death Star, but he can fly all these mechanical things that he's never done before. But that's fine. But Ray, I like the concept of Ray when I first heard about it. I don't know why I'm defending myself here about it, but
I don't know either.
I still haven't watched all. I've only watched about a half hour of the Rise of Skywalker. I just wasn't into it. I think my new Star Wars love is dead. Eric, dead like a doornail. But yeah, you should come on the show sometime. I'll tell Wes to send me an invite. See what you say.
That's what I'm doing stuff for this podcast.
Are you?
Yeah.
10 a.m. On the Saturday, you're getting ready?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm usually done by 12 o'clock, and then I'm waiting for you to say when you're ready.
Well, then you just have to do it later. But as you see, I am getting more people to the podcast by making myself available. So thank you, Barry, for shedding light on the fact that Eric should be out and about and branching, out to different things. And thanks, Craig. But yeah, I looked up Craig. I think the last time he emailed us was like in 2020, like the end of 2020. So
welcome back,
been
Craig.
a while. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, keep on keeping on. Keep doing what you're doing, Craig. But yeah, email in some more. But yeah, thanks everybody. Again, if you want to be part of the whole deal, all you have to do is email us at weirdsciencedccomics@gmail.com. We read everything, even if it's negative. Even if you yell about Eric Shea, we will certainly read it. If it's about me, we'll see. We'll see. Actually, we'll read that as well. But thanks for that. And we're going to go off. We have 3 more books in the next section. Some fan service coming up, right? Eric's all fired up. We get the finale of DCeased. We're maybe done. You think we're officially done?
Yes, I think we're done.
Okay, so we'll have
I feel like DCeased has run its course finally.
Yeah, I do too. But we'll be back with that in just a moment. And the Titans. I might just added that at the end. I was thinking that I need to make a Titans song, but also I could have done something with You're Gonna Burn in Hell, since that's where we are in this issue. But yeah, we have 3 books. We're going to start with Nightwing number 103.
You should do a Nightwing song where it's always the Titans going to show up, where it's like, instead of putting on the Reds, it's Titans in this bitch.
That would be Titans. We could do that. Because, but now this story has already been set up to be that they don't come swooping in, but it is more of a Titan story than
How can they swoop in when they're always just there?
Well, that is true. They are always there. Hopefully, and I said this before, you get a Titans book coming up soon. maybe then we'll actually get a Nightwing book back. But in this is something that I would hope that would be right in your wheelhouse. This is something, again, that you end up having near on some things that kind of get your fancy. Blaze is there, all that going down.
The daughter of the wizard Shazam?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my goodness gracious. But we're going to get into this.
I like the way she looks here.
No, I didn't either. And you know what the thing is? I know that I didn't. And it's funny you say that because I ended up looking up Blaze then because I'm like, this isn't what Blaze always looked like, right? And I look, oh, yeah, I like the old way. But while this is happening, it's funny because this is what I was saying earlier, where a lot of the books this week have a lot of fan service feel to it. And this is always one of them that ends up doing it. The problem is, like, what is the secret sauce of why I like one, why I don't like the other, or whatnot? But
dancing.
It usually is not maybe dancing, but it's also if the story hits and if it ends up and I don't know, this Nightwing book, while you're doing different things here, it just doesn't feel like I got any sort of idea. Like there's no tension in my mind. There's nothing. I like it enough. I actually like it more than some of the issues we've had in the past, but it just didn't hit with me as much as it really, I thought it would have or should have. But
maybe it's because of the computer system in hell. Oh my God, look at all the viruses and malware on this old computer screen in hell where we have all of the kind of like, why did you have to make hell stupid? Why do you have to make a joke about hell and soul contracts and stuff like
really,
that? Really,
some of the things that we've done recently in hell are this and in that Shazam mini that Tim Sheridan did.
You mean the Demon Casino?
Yeah, when you go into hell, it's all fucking nonsense. I don't need that. I want to be scared. I'm a scared boy, Eric. I can't take it. I mean, seriously. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I'm not. I'm like, oh, that sounds okay. Hey, I don't mind it. I know I'm heading there, so why not? At least I'm getting some sort of, optimism for it. But, but this is Nightwing number 103, written by Tom Taylor, art by Travis Moore and Vasco Georgiev, Adriana Lucas, and Wes Abbott. And yeah, you get a bunch of characters thrown in that we don't normally get. This is where a lot of the kind of talk that I could have here will sound very similar to what we said about the Batman Superman World's Finest. We're getting to see a bunch of characters we don't normally see. They have this setup and whatnot. It just didn't end up hitting with me that much. It's just like, okay, we have to go here. Then we're going to, everything seems easy. It seems quick. And I don't know, by the end, it just seems, again, a little more empty, but at least we're changing some scenery. We're in hell.
We're going to hell. It's even the idea of hell, though, because I like Neron, the idea that he wants this Olivia soul, because if he can't get the soul of a little girl and he's contested by this, everybody in hell is going to contest him. Even Blaze, who used to rule hell as well. She is right there front and center to try to put Neron in his place. He puts her down and they're like, we got to freaking, get this little girl's soul because I can't have shit like this continuing to go on. But even when you have the Titans in hell, which I look forward to because I wanted to see how they would react to something like this, I don't want to hear Raven talk about her father because while her father is a demon, it's a parallel dimension situation and not really a hell thing. So it doesn't really feel like it works out as well as it should. So I don't want to deal with that. But because it's Raven, that's all you can deal with. Oh, I got to bring up my daddy, even though it don't matter here. Oh, okay,
and
Raven.
In that, you just said something else, too, that kind of did drive me a little nuts. The idea of, hey, you want to see how they react. Well, they're not going to react, Eric, because Raven's going to cast the would you just so they don't get to see anything. I
kind of like the idea because the thing is, you can't see what's going on. Fine, you would it. The explanation, I think, is actually ingenious because we have a bunch of heroes, the Titans in hell, and you're going to see nothing but people being tortured and suffering nonstop. And because you are who you are, you're going to try to help. We're not here for that, and there's nothing we can do. I like that a lot.
My problem is, it's because you're just going to force this through, and they don't really do anything anyway. I would have liked to. I mean, they really just walk through and then go and really by the end of this, as clever as you think that is, the idea of this contract and how they get out of it is one of the biggest pieces of bullshit I've ever read in a comic book since we started. The idea that they can end up fudging a contract with Neron in a way that makes no sense at all. It doesn't make sense.
It's not the greatest thing, I'll give you that, but the idea of the bureaucracy and hell and the fine print and stuff like that, it's always something I find fascinating whenever anybody deals with hell and soul contracts and stuff along those lines, where Jezebel Jet is the mother of Olivia. She is dead now. She's been dead for a long time in DC Comics.
Decapitated, Eric.
Exactly, decapitated by Talia. And when you have that going on, we don't have a guardian figure. And, Dick Grayson goes and makes himself the legal guardian of Olivia.
But it's after the contract. It doesn't matter now.
Fact, but also, can you actually go and sell the soul of somebody that you don't have like ownership of? Because, you have Blockbuster
there was
as well.
A contract with Blockbuster.
Yes.
That was the contract. So Dick Grayson coming in and saying, and he doesn't say, I'm the soul deal. He says, I'm with Blockbuster. It's too late. You can't just add it at the end. This is like me running in. My dad is dead and I run in and Jimmy gets everything on the will and now I'm rich. You can't do that. It doesn't make sense. And it's such a surface level bullshit thing at the end to just make it work. And then away you go. That is not, it's
even
not
the
clever,
idea of
forced.
Blockbuster selling his daughter's soul before she's born, that doesn't feel like something that should be capable or possible anyway, because it's not his to give.
Yeah, I mean, you get that sometimes, my firstborn son, whatever. But yeah, it all felt weird. So, but at the end, with Dick Grayson at the last second just saying, oh, I just wrote this on the bottom, then it's mine. I went near on to then go, wait, give me that. No, that's not. And they just keep writing. They're writing back and forth to each other because that doesn't make any sense, especially in a deal where you are having contracts or souls and things like that. It ends up making it just silly.
Trying to find a loophole.
Yeah, but the loophole shouldn't be, I just ended up calling Melinda and adopting this girl just sight unseen. I mean, even that as surface level would not be able to happen that quick, but that's beside the point. It's after the fact. It does not work. Oh, you didn't ask me about it. Well, no, this contract is dated here. You can't do that now. That doesn't make sense. So it really fell flat for me.
But Jim,
I like some of the interactions.
Did you study law in college? Because Dick Grayson, he studied law, and I'm telling you, this contract isn't worth the blood it's written on.
This is hell law. I don't even know. I mean, it's different law. But again, if anybody out there.
Actual law, it's bureaucracy.
Yeah, well, and even then, what you're just going to get is a computer with, oh my God, everything is just goofy to just get out of there and to tell a couple jokes. It's nice enough. This really, what this issue is it's just the, epitome or amount. It's what this book is. You're not going to get that deep into it. You're going to get fudge things. I said the idea where in this book, Dick Grayson will rail on prison reform, but then tear down the prison to make a Titan's Tower, which would make more crowded prisons. This is what Tom Taylor does. He gives you the wow moment or the fun and whatnot that makes no damn sense. But if you like that, you just go with it. Okay, that makes. But to have this thing almost like the Parasite deal of, oh, he had radiation, boom, 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 gun done. This is just the same. This is exactly the same thing by the end.
Let's say it is not a binding contract because hell law is not the same as man's law and stuff like this, where he is now the legal guardian, even though there's supposed to be two names on there, and Jezebel Jet wasn't able to sign because she was decapitated. Let's just say this doesn't hold weight, but what we do have here is Neron trying to say, Nightwing, I need you to let this shit go. And if you do, I can give you something in return. Aren't you always worried, wondering what you can do with the Speed Force if I gave you power to that? What about Super Strength? What if I gave you the superpowers that your teammates have? How much good can you do in this world? And maybe the idea is, maybe it's not, but maybe it is, by the end when we get to the next issue, this isn't binding, but we also need to get the Titans off our asses because he keeps kicking Neron's ass over and over again. So maybe while it's not binding, he can still keep Olivia safe away from Neron because he's done so thus far.
Yeah, I just think that it's like that. But in that, he's not going to take those powers. He's going to say, I'm good enough on my own. That's what I like.
But the fascinating part about the whole thing, though, is that we have Nightwing is now essentially becoming Batman. Like you always wanted to be, even when he was Batman, when Bruce Wayne was dead. The idea now that he is a billionaire, he is now taking on an orphan as the legal guardian of something. And, somebody with superpowers as well, something that Bruce never had, like training as a Robin, something like, does Olivia become something more? She's even being trained by Themyscarans and other super people at this point in time on
Themyscira. The grinning man comes and hits her, Eric.
But you have some stuff that is really cool in my mind that you're setting up here that could do wonders for the character as the series progresses.
Yeah, again, though, it's just the thing that I wanted when you end up having Nightwing and you get him back to Bloodhaven, and we haven't really had that kind of Bloodhaven deal. This has been all around. We end up having a sister. That kind of meandered a bit. We have the, what's his name? Heartless. That's not dealt with yet. Now we have the Grinning Man. Now we have Olivia. It's all just piling up. Plus the Titans are in the book every issue. We're not really progressing anything. I hope there is time to have some of these things if Olivia stays around. Maybe Barbara adopts her too and they get married. I don't know. People would like that. But overall, it's almost like a book that just keeps adding and adding and adding, but never getting rid of any of the loose ends. The loose ends just sit there in the background. And so, yeah, that might be cool, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, the whole play, though, in Hell, to me, it fell flat. It was very easy to just get from point A to point B. And
the best part you have in this is Blaze telling them the source of like where the contracts are in Hell, because Blaze is not going to like be one up by Neron, even though she was already humiliated by Neron right now. But like if she's able to take him down a peg with the Titan's help, why not go for it? But when you actually get to the computer system, it's just a silly kind of joke that doesn't really go anywhere except for Nightwing. Look at this. I know a legal loophole to get us out of this. And when you get to it, like I said, maybe it is like a loophole. Maybe it's real. Maybe it's not. I hope it's not just, and Neron is offering Nightwing these powers in exchange for just getting the hell off his back.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that he's going to keep these powers at all.
No, obviously not.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like he's going to be there. Hey, you want that? And he's no.
But what can Neron do at this point in time right now?
Right. I don't know. I don't even know he could actually go and take it to court. Where's Hell's court, right? We need
down there next to the computer system.
He's like, this doesn't do anything. Let's go back, and I want to go and talk to Satan himself and see if this contract, because it really feels
weird. Come collect it, bitches.
Where anybody now who sold their soul in this sort of way, you could just have somebody just fly in and go, all right. I mean, I guess the deal is trying to find the contract, but if you do, you're like, nope, I'm the father. I don't allow it. Boom. It just felt weird. It just felt silly. And by the end, it's just very, very quick with a couple jokes and just doesn't really hit.
Like I said, I don't like the computer system of Hell because it is just a jokey situation. The thing that besides for that, though, I don't really mind the majority of what we have going on here. It doesn't do much overall. It's just kind of a fun, like, new little setting for us, even though it doesn't go anywhere. But when you have Donna Troy, Starfire, and Batgirl taking Olivia to Themyscira to train her, and then also Neron breaking the Grinning Man out of prison, to then for the Grinning Man just to pose as Wonder Woman on Themyscira, but also teleport in Dr. Polaris and Gorilla Grodd on the island of the Amazons. You've taken anything special out of this island at this point in time, where you just have these people here just fighting, and I'm like, for what real reason except for calling back to Underworld Unleashed, where Neron gave these individual villains these powers that he had for that mean nothing in today's comics.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny play and the thing that I said earlier was
Monster Killer Moth if you're going to do anything.
Okay, I will give you that, Eric. The thing when I was saying when I said before the idea of, okay, what's the secret sauce that this one's missing? When you do get Dr. Polaris, Gorilla, that feels like, all of a sudden Tom Taylor's trying to get that world's finest deal. Oh my God, there's all these, guest characters.
Yeah, and callbacks to like classic things.
But this didn't feel right. Like when you have this here, it just didn't feel as fun or right. It just kind of plops in there. And yeah, I was kind of like, all right. Again, I said I wasn't upset about the story. It just seemed like every time we get something in this, it always ends up being something that comes down to like some sort of letter of the law. And it never works out well for me, the way that Tom Taylor plays it. Just even going back, the kids are homeless, so I'll give them pizza. And I'm like, well, but everything is kind of pushed aside then to be very easily solved in a way that you shouldn't look into it, or you're not supposed to say, well, that doesn't make sense, or what happened.
Maybe this is how it works in Australia,
Jim. He just moves on. I guess, I don't know. He moves on. Well, the funny thing is when you say that, the idea in that Nightwing 100 where he was railing into prisons for profit, that really isn't that popular here in the United States. That is more in Australia, and it didn't work, if you're thinking of the DCU being in the U.S., as I do, because I'm a pig-headed jerk, Eric. But,
obviously.
With that, you do have the backup stuff that ends up,
before we get to the backup, though, when we have the idea, though, that Neron does give Nightwing these powers, because I'm going to give you a little taste of what it feels like before you make any kind of decision this way or the other about what you're going to do with Olivia. When we get this powered up Nightwing and he gets this brand new suit to go with it, I do kind of hope that this suit sticks around because I think it's pretty badass.
I like the suit. I think it's pretty cool. It looks like
powers or not, keep the suit, Nightwing.
Yeah, I think it looks a little like a motocross deal.
Well, it also feels like an amalgam of all his other Nightwing suits, besides for the red one, obviously. But like the old school Nightwing costumes, like this feels like it's a modern take on what that was back in the 80s.
I don't love the yellow domino mask. I'll give you that, Eric.
Kind of like
even then, if you put like a helmet on and he's going through the multiverse, that's pretty cool.
No,
like,
I don't need that either.
That suit could do all that, though. This suit doesn't look like you'd have to like change. Like, you don't want to end up having disco wing suit if you're underwater, but this could be good. He could hang out with Garth down there doing his thing, right? Disco.
He can't breathe the waters, Jim.
No, he'd have his helmet on then. And also, why not? If he's going with it, just tell, Neron, keep going, baby. I want to breathe underwater. I want to do this. Powers. Just give it the all of it. Also, I would tell you that these powers seem to kind of be exciting Nightwing a little bit. I see something going on there.
That's him
in
soft.
The pants, right? Oh, my goodness gracious.
I know.
Them really, Eric. Holy moly. He is the great Dick Grayson. I mean, he is a great
He's
Dick.
A grower and a shower.
He is both, but we also have the backup. The backups are nothing that I ever really think that are going to impress me anymore. I don't know. They're nice
Well,
enough.
it's the weirdest part because this is such a weird storytelling concept that we have going on here where we have Dick Grayson training John Kent, a continuation of what we had previously in the John Kent series for a backup that really means nothing. But when you go to a circus tent and you have to find out who cut the trapeze line, we almost got our trapeze artist killed. I'm going to accuse this person because she had motive. It wasn't me. You know what, Nightwing? I was watching her. She was telling the truth. Oh my God, there's only under one person it can be. The little boy. And the whole idea, like, yeah, I cut the rope, but I thought it was going to be my rope and I thought we're going to have a net. Like, you've done this act a million times. Why did you think it was going to be your rope? How does that work out? And why did you think there was going to be a net out of nowhere? And the big thing that nobody wants to talk about until the end of this, because we have to continue this fucking story, is, but who set the bomb? I'm like, I want to find this part out first. Who set the bomb who almost killed everybody in the circus tent? But we're not worried about that. We got to figure out who cut a goddamn rope.
Yeah, I want to know who cut the cheese there. That's what it's always
you.
me.
It's always you.
It is always me.
You always smelt it, you dealt it.
I ended up, and I'm, again, going through the main story. It's just everything kind of eye-rolled and worked out fine, right? You know what I mean? But then when you get to the backup, and like I said, I didn't mind it. It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. It's non-offensive. You get some characters.
I just don't get the reasoning behind the kid. Everything he said, I thought it was going to be my rope and a net.
Yeah, I didn't like the backup at all. And then I started thinking the idea of, yeah, this is going to be another one of those books that they add the backup to get. And they are. This one, especially, taking full advantage of fans because the book's selling well. They figure, oh, let's do this. We'll throw John in here. Everybody will love it. And when you get to it, it's just nothing. And you're fleecing people with that. And I just don't care for it. And I wish that we just got the regular deal. People got the $1 less and keep going. But we'll see. We'll see if it affects sales or whatnot. But what would you give it overall?
Ultimately, I'm not even thinking about the backup because it means nothing to me. I'm telling you, it's not good for the book, in my opinion. But the regular story, it's okay. I'm telling you, I think the art's great throughout. And I love the concepts that we're dealing with here because I think it can change the status quo of Nightwing for years to come and do amazing things with the character. And actually, everybody always calls him Batman-like to begin with. Let's even up the ante. Like we said, he's a billionaire now. Give him a freaking ward to deal with and Olivia. That sounds like some fun stuff, especially because she has superpowers and is the daughter of one of his biggest villains ever. There's some cool concepts I want to see. How we're getting there, it's a little iffy, but you can still have fun with the story overall. So 6.8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'm a 7, so I liked it a little more because I like the art. And again, I never trust any of these things of being something like, oh, it's going to change the status quo. I don't even think it's going to change the status quo in 6 months. There's like they changed the status quo. I thought the sister was going to change, Melinda, and that kind of gets pushed aside. And then you have all that playing. She's there, but it didn't change shit. And she hasn't really been. She is there now, really, to be somebody who Nightwing calls to get shit done off panel. It even happened with that box. Oh, I got to figure out what this box is in this crazy pirate group, the Hold or whatever. That is another thing that I thought was going to be big to get. There's so many things that are adding up that we need. But
he's the legal guardian now, Jim.
Get to well, and again, does
unless she dies. That's his problem.
Does Hell Law end up working in the deal? Or are they going to find it's funny, like when Blockbuster eventually comes back to life, if he does, then he kind of reverts to the
but
deal.
Jim,
and
we
then
ain't got no more Lazarus.
Well, who knows? Who knows what's happening? I actually thought that they were going to be like the mother was going to be down there in hell and they'd make but maybe they will. Maybe that'll be the deal. He'll say, listen, I'll make you a bargain. Get these superpowers off. Have her mother, Jezebel. Off we go. And then you got that, Eric. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see if anything happens.
But I hope it all sticks to everything we had set up here because I think it could be really cool for the character overall.
Nah, it'd be funny where Nightwing's like, geez, I can't stay home and watch this kid. This kid's driving me up a fucking wall.
Well, and that's what he has Barbara
like every
for.
dad. Yeah, and Barbara's there. She's got Oracle things to do. She's like, I ain't doing this.
I'm telling you, that adds a lot of drama where because, Nightwing is counting on Barbara to do this. When she has her own things to do, it's going to drive a wedge between them to create more drama.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, this is almost like the idea that we talk about the having a job and things like that. But it's funny, too, because I did want to look up maybe what like the next solicit says just to see if it even mentions her. But the next issue solicit is the exact one for this one. So that didn't help me out. I mean, word for word. So that didn't help me out, Eric. But yeah, I'm a 7. We're both 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's fine. It's not offensive. It's what it is, and it's going with it, and it's what the book is. And it's one of those things I've said all along. If I keep really, my score hounding on a thing that's never going to change, then it's just going to be nonsense. So I could see where people could have fun with this. Like,
definitely. And it's just like the next issue they're dealing with, The Flash number 797, written by Jeremy Adams, with art by Serge Acuna, Tom Derenick, Matt Herms, Peter Pantazis, and Dave Sharp. Because in this issue, we're not getting a Wally West story. We're having a cool-down issue from the 1 Minute War, where Wallace West has to go and try to babysit Irie and Jay, with Maxine tagging along, and their asses are teleported away by Knives Mahoney, if you all remember him from before. And then they have to deal with a Super Sons adventure out of nowhere, which I'm sure people will love. But for an overall Flash story, for what means something in the long run, is it really that? Like, is it really something that's there overall? Is it just say, let's have some super fun, super kids, like good times?
Yeah, the funny play of this is the issue itself. It feels like almost like a greatest hits of some things that we've had. Obviously, Knives, that was the part of I like to call the
search
Night
for Barry
Flash,
Allen.
But you ended up having that. Me and you had fun with him because he keeps getting younger and younger.
The Benjamin Buttons.
I said you just wait until he becomes a baby and then you start kicking him around, and we had that fun with
Night Flash, kick the baby.
Yeah, exactly. And I found that whole deal. I might put it on at least the Patreon for people to listen to that again. It's kind of funny where you end up giving your speech of why Superman's the greatest because he doesn't kick babies. But when you get this, it also is a funny play to me that this feels a little bit like some of the issues of where we weren't quite into the Jeremy Adams Flash yet. We love the kids, so they're there. But great. There was that play where we're like, okay, this is... But at this point, now that I'm into the whole, the pacing of it and things like that, also getting Wallace, who we love, I actually did like this. And it has nothing to do with the Super Sons when it comes at the end, which I didn't mind. But I do like seeing the kids, especially with Maxine there.
Well, it's such a weird idea. Where you talk about, will it matter with Dick Grayson, adopting Olivia? Will it be anything for the status quo going forward? And like this issue, I feel like that has more legs than the idea than the Knives Mahoney, who is the adversary of Bat Flash, the Barry Allen from another universe, who has come here and now has pretty much a genie in the bottle device to give you anything you ask for. But the idea, though, he is outside of time. He's whisked the super kids to where he is now to have them go up against their greatest villains of the future who they don't know about yet, because one day the super kids will grow up and have a team with Maxine, Jay, Irie, maybe even a de-aged Damian and John Kent that's out of time somehow. But when you have Dr. Nightmare, the Reverse Grodd, Mineral Man, Foul Play, and Heatwave Jr., all these weird, evil amalgam versions of people that are in their lives right now, where you have, Mineral Man is essentially Animal Man, but with minerals. Foul Play is Mr. Terrific, but, opposite. And then a Heatwave Jr. as well. It's just fun, little play on Icicle Jr., but for Heatwave. I want to see this, but can this be anything in the future that we get? No, it won't.
Here's the thing. Jeremy Adams is done in a couple issues. This is done, so nobody's going to keep this going on.
Like a reverse Grodd. It doesn't have to be Grodd, or even the idea of a Grodd who gets tapped into the reverse speed force or the negative speed force later on, and for some reason wears an Ian Barthon costume. I kind of want to see where this goes.
I want to see some of this, and I'm intrigued by it, but it's fun. And
why does Mineral Man look almost exactly like Buddy Baker?
That is true. Well, he's got the deal. I think that's kind of supposed to be the opposite of it. It's a weird.
I got you. It's Mineral Man, but he's almost exactly the same.
Yeah. So maybe it's the they are from the multiverse and all over. Maybe that is a Buddy Baker from that Earth. I don't know. But
and Dr. Nightmare, is that just supposed to be like a Dr. Destiny, or is that a character that I'm thinking about who's been in this Flash run that's just escaping me for some reason?
No, I don't think it's been in there. I think that these are all new characters that he's gone and grabbed. Now, in that, it reminds me a lot of Rex in the Super Sons deal.
It's totally that.
And the funny thing is, when they show up, they mention Rex. They're in the middle of fighting.
Rex,
yeah, the time deal is that. And I thought, boy, that's really clever there because that's what I thought of the whole time. And then when they showed up, it made complete sense. So I did like that. But again, this is a cool down. This is just for fun. And I did have some fun. I was intrigued by this team, and Knives, me and you got a kick out of the last time.
Yeah.
He's just goofy. He's trying to be this big deal. Also, you mentioned foul play, and I think of the Chevy Chase, Goldie Hawn movie, so that got me.
Nobody
and then
saw
when
that.
you're going, you end up seeing, them team up. And I do like this idea of, Damian, who, oh man, he's the pain in the ass, but he's not. And John gets his moment to say. And I like this too, because with Jeremy Adams here, the real play of the feels or the real fan service would be for Damian to really push about a de-aged John here. Oh my God, look at this young kid, John. He's the best. I hope he never grows. Like, you could play that game, but instead it's the reverse of him saying, no, Damian. And we talked about it. It's funny. We talked about pretty much
we said exactly the same thing.
Spotlight,
yeah.
The exact thing of how much Damian has progressed and how he was raised. And I really like
Who are we talking as opposed to?
We were talking that and Cass.
Cassandra
right, yes. Cain. Cassandra Cain and
right.
Damian having that background together of both being weapons and assassins. We ended up saying that Damian had it a lot better.
Sure did.
He was the Princess Leia of that combo. But yeah, I had fun. Now, again, by the end, it doesn't really mean much.
Well, it's such a weird
coming
idea,
to an end of the
too.
run, so I don't mind that we're just going to finish the run. So he wants to have some fun with this.
You have Irie, you have Jay, and you have Maxine, and thankfully they have their costumes in their backpacks because they just got teleported to this dimension, and when they left school and before Wallace could just pick them up and babysit them. When you have this going on, though, throughout this entire thing, because they're going to fight their adversaries of the future here in that cast of characters I just mentioned, and then Damian Wayne and John Kent will show up, the Super Sons proper, from how they were from years ago, right after they got done their fight with Rex Luthor from outer space, or like during even, but like the idea they're still trying to get their way home. They keep talking about how they're from a different universe. Now, is it that just a perception of it because they don't realize they're outside of time with where they are now, or they have been tripping the multiverse fantastic and they don't realize they're outside of time in this own little thing because of this magical doodad that Knives Mahoney has? Or is there somewhere out there that this, Super Sons team is doing the exact same thing that our Super Sons team did, and they are actually still this age at that point in time?
And then you could end up continuing the Super Sons book with them,
in an Elseworld.
Deal. But even then, I don't know if Jeremy Adams is playing that, but they may not know, and the idea of having Dark Crisis may have disconnected it and done that deal, but it does.
Well, I don't think
that.
Dark Crisis really matters in this moment because they are outside of time at this point in time. It's more of a time travel / multiversal situation
maybe you
they're
have that
in.
Weird play of the redone multiverse, and when you got the Omniverse or whatever, the expanded deal. I don't know, but
they're definitely with the idea of an infinite Earth, you would still have a Super Sons team that's out there because you have infinite possibilities.
Yeah, so they're there, and I think that they might just be a little confused about what's going on, and they're kind of stuck out of time and whatnot. I thought that was cool, and I love the art for them in this. I mean, when they come in, again, Damian riding him like a horsey, and, you have that. Robins like to do that, but when they come in, they look fantastic.
He is not riding him like a horsey. He is urban surfing on his back. He
actually is urban surfing, which is more badass, and I like that, he's giving that smirk there, and they're going in. But, yeah, I do like it while they come in and fight and are introduced to these other kids, because really, as a team, this would be a really cool kid.
Well, not
team
only that, but knowing going forward because of what Knives Mahoney knows about the future with the villains that he's brought along and how we have to kill these super kids before they grow up to become, or at least, grow up to become the super kids team that they are. We're going to stop them now, knowing that there's like 8 members on this team outside of Jay, Maxine, and Irie. I'm like, who the else is on this team? And is it ever going to be resolved since Jeremy Adams is gone off this book?
I know.
I need to.
Do you want Olivia on the team?
I'm telling you, a little blockbuster? Yes.
Yeah, a little blockbuster. Also, I love the deal that Jeremy Adams does. Well, yes, whether that is good, whether or not, you're lucking into some lines or whatever. I love that this is that, somewhat back in the day, Damian, who isn't good with teams and says, I don't like teams. But yet, in the current deal,
he's had some bad experiences with the Teen Titans. Yeah,
but he has progressed, and I think that that's really cool.
And, well, I'm telling you, it's cool that we have a writer in here that's actually writing something that's not just basic kind of Damian that everybody does when they revert back to still like that, because he has progressed. He's become such a better character now. And because of where we are in the timeline right now with the Super Sons of what they've done from when that last story took place, this is that Damian. You can do it. It's okay. It's just not, going back to factory settings for no reason whatsoever. So it works out well.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that Jeremy Adams did that last Super Sons movie. So he knows the Super Sons. And if they end up going, I know that you get Peter J. Tomasi on it all the time, but I don't know. I think that maybe this would be something that Jeremy Adams could do as well, because I really like what you said. This doesn't feel like somebody who's writing the team for the first time and is going to go with the there's Damian's still, a little pain in the ass or whatever.
As he should be at this point.
He has John there who keeps, come on, Damian. And it's
John's
a nice little interaction. Yeah. And he even says, he's my hero. He does this and that. So that's a pretty cool deal of that. And I like the team. And I love seeing Maxine where she's going ape, using gorilla power and stuff like that. That's always the greatest. Oh, yeah. It's so good. So you have all that going on. And yeah, I like when the team kind of comes together.
But what I want to know, because Wallace West, he's got to figure out, oh my God, Wally and Linda are out on a date. They asked me to babysit. And immediately before I could even babysit the kids, I had them kidnapped right under my Speed Force nose. I got to go to Mr. Terrific to ask his ass for help, because we got to get the signatures of these kids, find out where in the multiverse or just in this universe where they're taken, which, Michael Holt will figure out no problem because he's Mr. Terrific. But when Wallace shows up to Terrific Tech, Michael's got a little T-sphere portal opened up where it looks like either Cthulhu or the Man-Thing is trying to break through.
It looked like the Man-Thing.
Well, they're very similar, but when I saw that, I immediately thought Man-Thing just because it's funny, but what you doing over there, Michael? I don't think you should be unsupervised because you're ending the world, possibly, but we do have Mr. Terrific in this book who gives us an easy out, and yes, it is an easy out. We've bitched about it nonstop this podcast. But it works here for who we already have set up in the book and knowing what Mr. Terrific does. And what we've done previously in the series, multiversal as it is, it works.
And here's they still struggle more in this than the Titans do in that Nightwing book. But I do like when Wallace Ace goes to Mr. Terrific, hey, Mr. T, and I swear to God, why can't we once I pity the fool who let those kids get, kidnapped.
I'm sure if you go back in time, you'll have it somewhere.
I just want it once. That's all I need. If you're going to call him Mr. T, you got to do it and make it so they actually giggle like they know what they're doing.
You do this with characters all the time, though, throughout all of that, where you call the Green Lantern a GL or you call Power Girl PG. You always abbreviate things where it is Mr. T all the time.
Though, you got to, at one point, somebody's got to make the joke and it'll make me giggle so much. But yeah, overall, I did like it. I would think that one of the team members would be Gold Beetle because she had been mentioning, I don't know the time frame of what they ended up like. Is that when they're adults or is that when they're still kids? The idea that she kept mentioning things about being on teams with them as well. So I don't know who else, but if Little Blockbuster was on it, I'm all in. Then get, what's it called? Deadshot's daughter. We're in. We are in.
Live Shot?
Yeah, Live Shot. Oh my God. Now we're getting a team together, Eric. Do you think that Live Shot, would this make you laugh? Live Shot's on the team, right? Live Shot and Dog Shot. And the big play is that now Cobra has kidnapped Deadshot. So instead of Cobra always kidnapping Deadshot's daughter, they ended up kidnapping him. Well, he'll be back soon. We'll have him back.
You sure
I'm
about
just
that?
saying
He
the
got
whole
no
back and
Lazarus,
forth.
Jim.
Yeah, you say that. They'll be ending up. And also, I think we do. I think that we have the resin. What book was it that they said that they had the resin?
We had the serum in the Batgirls
No, I'm
book.
saying that recently we just had that one book and like, hey, it was the Doom Patrol.
It was the Doom Patrol, and they just said resin, but we don't know what kind of resin.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think it was tree sap. I think you're a sap. But yeah, by the end, like you said, that's what it's not. Here's the difference. When you go down to hell with a contract with Neron and all, it should be more serious. It should be something that really is a big deal because you're doing stuff. When you do this is just a Super Sons Askew adventure. It's fun. It's all ages. And
it's a cool down book
works.
after,
the 1 minute
I do
like it. Yeah, so what would you give it?
Well, that's the thing is, too, by the end of this, when we do, send all the people away, because the way that we overcome our villain is that he has the magical doodad. Anything you ask for, it will give you. And then our super twins there, I don't want to say super twins because we have that in the other book, but Jay and I are using, their annoying situation of also using the Speed Force, but they're constantly just asking for things.
I like that because it's a kid's solution. It really is. It's fine.
And eventually we just send everybody away to where the closest prison they need to. So we defeat the day, and everybody is sent back then, leaving the magical doodad in this little space between spaces, this dimension that we're in. And the weirdest part, this might be cool setting up our new story, is that Granny Goodness is just there with this magical doodad that can give you anything. This wishing machine, essentially. So Granny Goodness is there. So you got a little apocalyptic things going on, which is always fun. I just want to know why Granny Goodness would just be there out of nowhere. It's just, look, I like the idea because we could do some fun female Fury stuff, some other fun apocalyptic stuff, but Granny Goodness is being there. Look what I found.
This looks good. Looks like the poison apple deal.
Yeah.
I did like that Knives. He didn't quite know the rules. He's like, I'm getting the hell out. Oh, no, I can't get it back. And then it falls and she gets it. One thing, though, I just remembered, when you had the people, this would never have happened, but for some reason, I got this weird idea that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we were going to get all the kids from the Lost Children, the Stargirl. They were going to be the ones that were in the rafters. And I was like, oh, that'd be awesome. But
I'm not saying somebody, one of those kids, they could be one of the super kids, depending on where their future takes them at the end of that Stargirl series.
You're saying? You're right.
Salem, maybe the Wiz Kid. I don't know.
It'd be cool.
Brave voice.
Well, you have this setup. I'm glad that the full setup originally of this is the team. You're not just going to get, we'll have who's the speedster and it looks like it'd be, a wacky team. I hope we do see it. I have a feeling at some point they're going to see into the future to see this team of some sort. And
I'm telling you, though, I would love to see that, but we're getting down to the wire of where this series is going to be over Jerry Adams until we get to the idea of cosmic horror with Wally West, which doesn't sound like he's going to have a lot of fun times with Jay and Irie West. Maybe we could get a 6-issue mini that's spin-offs of this. I don't know, but it just seems like we don't have a lot of time left for what we're doing here, especially now that Granny Goodness has the eternity mind and can wish for anything she wants.
Yeah, from what I heard about that Cy Spurrier, you're not getting any of the family. It's just that's the whole thing that DC said that they don't like that direction. We just get Wally.
It's just the best direction. Whatever.
And in space, and we saw Cy Spurrier's great with that. He's not going to go crazy if he's...
Oh, it's going to suck so bad.
I'm not looking for, but maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised.
It's just going to be that backup that we had in Superboy this week, and it's just going to be that, but with Wally West, and it's going to be so annoying and fucking pain in the ass to read.
And people want to hear us lose our minds. You can go to the Patreon, patreon.com/weirdScience. We did not like that, but we're going to move on to the last...
Didn't give any scores yet.
Yeah. What is your score?
Ultimately, I do think that this book is inconsequential because of the idea that we don't have a lot of time left. And everything that I want to see here, I probably will never see again, which really saddens me. Did have some fun here. Eric Shea can have some fun sometimes. There's not a lot, that feels like it matters ultimately. But as a cool down issue, I can have some fun here with Jay and Irie, Maxine. The Super Sons, even Wallace West coming in to do a little rescue, but even though he's the one being rescued by the end by the Super Kids, it's great. The reverse, versions, the enemies of the future that our kids will have, it's a fun little concept because while it is, not anything that's overly original because it is just things you kind of know with slightly tweaked names, even the looks of them, they're slightly tweaked. It's fun and it really is reminiscent of, if anybody's a fan of the Super Sons that we had previously, it really does feel like that. So I'm still going to give it a 7 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I think I like it a little bit more than Nightwing. It has the same kind of feel. It really does, but it's more based on that.
This is way more fun.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun, and that's why I think my score was elevated a little bit. And again, some of the things that I was upset about with Nightwing is it should have had more oomph. You had a lot of things that could have really been a darker bit story, but also a little more things with what you were going with. This is, once you have Super Sons and all that, it was just for fun. I think that it accomplished that. Mission accomplished, Eric. But we're going to move on to the next book. You'll tell me if mission accomplished here.
The last
It is
book.
The finale.
Oh, not the last book. We have another section.
Yeah, we have a section still, Eric. Wink, wink. Maybe, right? We do.
Maybe.
DCeased War of the Undead Gods, number 8, written by Tom Taylor, art by Trevor Harrison, Lucas Mayer, Andy Lanning, Rain Barreto, and Seda Temofonte. So we're going to end the whole DCeased War of the Undead Gods and possibly end DCeased as a whole. And I think that that is the case. Now, I don't want somebody to yell at us 10 years from now if we end up getting it. But yeah, we did. So we lasted. We've been through the shit. Here we are. I know a lot of people like this series more than us. I just, at this point, I'm just kind of done with it. I want to see how it ends, right? And I'm like, So you end up having this, and you end up last issue where pretty much it looked like you had Darkseid's like, screw this, I'm going to go get that MFer. And then we kind of pulled back. But we also end up having what I was afraid of. We have a lot of, and it's a weird play. Maybe it's decent enough. You're having epilogues while you still haven't finished the series, but that's okay because there's so many characters, I guess. But it feels like you don't have any sort of stakes because we're already having narration about how they won. But
the thing is, we ended like the last issue with the idea. Now we're going to take it to Erebus. This motherfucker's not going to know what hit him because now we have Darkseid on our team. We have all of these things. We're taking the fight to the source itself. And you get into this issue, and it takes pretty much the entire issue to get to the actual fight because now it's going to take some time to bury things, talk to people about how we feel, like the idea going off the mission, we might not come back. And you want to have these things, but it really felt like it put a bit of a pause on the momentum that the finale to last issue had. So we get, hey, I'm the Black Racer. I'm just showing up to funerals because I'm Death. I do Death stuff. I've been around. So I might want to help you out too because, Damian Wayne, you got some questions about the anti-life. You got some questions about the life equation. Let me tell you how to resolve all this. Thankfully, I showed up, right? Thank you, Black Racer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Black Racer. And when you're going, if you've been reading it, I would think that if you're reading the finale, you realize that Alfred is
Black Racer looks
narration.
badass, though.
Yeah, he does. And a couple of things. And I don't understand why this progression. Why didn't you just go right to Erebus, take care of that? Because all the stuff that you do then, besides the setup of Damian and what's going to happen, I'm talking about like, go off and see Jacob. Oh, mommy, I thought you were dead. I was like, that could be at the end. I mean, let's get to it. Let's get to
did it do anything for you for the first few pages of this whole thing where it's like,
no, it didn't.
All right, Scott-Free and Bud are reunited with their son. All right, let's move on.
You know what the weird play is, too, is I know how Tom Taylor was playing this, but by the time Damian's going to sacrifice himself, I got some feelings with him and John. But then it starts to go, I swear to God, he's trying to dig into my feelings with you were the greatest. It really felt like when Damian died that last time, when he was there with Dick Grayson. But I didn't care that much because he's already died and then came back.
Cassie Sands, Mark, Wonder Woman, Damian Wayne Batman, and John Kent Superman, this trio of this universe being this bonded pact. I love them together. I love everything they talk about each other, and I think they are the strength of this book. But I wanted more of it, honestly.
Well, that's the problem is I don't think we had a lot going into this. You did have some, but it never really hit with me that I'm like, man, they're so great.
Like when you have the war room meeting that we have to be interrupted because Guy Gardner's got to talk shit on Darkseid and he gets knocked on his ass. Like, that's all me. I should have talked shit on Darkseid. I'm like, yeah, why do we need this part right now?
And Guy would never say that. Was such a weird moment to just get Guy to, and then you don't even feel like Guy when he's like, oh, man, that's my fault. My bad, people. And it didn't feel right.
Like the idea of Cassie Sandsmark and Damian Wayne being a couple that love each other in this universe, all grown up because we are in the future here from where we are presently in our current continuity. She has made him a better man. She has made him a better Batman. He is the Batman that everybody wants him to be and all he wanted to be. He is willing to have the sacrifice that Batman would always do for his universe. And it works for me. This is the strength of the book, and I think that Tom Taylor does this part well.
I didn't really care because the Batman, it's only been because, in this. So the progression, we've just had random scenes. Everything is always, let's fight, fight, fight. Oh, my God, this stuff. I never really got anything but, they're fighting this. I never really got a connection to these characters, especially Damian. He ended up dying already, and then they joke about it, but I never really connected to Damian in this, especially when Oliver. Yeah, I'm saying, but before that, what was he doing? It was just all of a sudden, oh, he's Batman now. We got to fight, fight, fight. We never really did that much with the characters, what was my complaint this whole time. Tom Taylor has not done a lot of character work in this. And then we get to this point where he's going for the feels. And yeah, I'm sure some people will be more into it, but I felt just nothing, a blank slate, and just wanted to get out of there. I really haven't enjoyed this at all. And this didn't change my mind one bit because we're just waiting and waiting. Let's get to the stupid Erebus. This Erebus has been mentioned over and over and over just to get there. Cut him open, make a vagina there to go into. Lobo's in there.
Or just a slash, whatever.
That's what it looked like. But even that Lobo, like you said about Guy Gardner, Lobo's just sitting there. When am I going to do my thing? I'll go into crack. I'm like, yeah.
We have our plan. We're going to have Ares, and we're going to have, who else is it that goes and has to keep Is it Darkseid and Ares? Okay, yeah. They got to keep Erebus busy while we have our... No, I'm sorry. It's Black Racer and Ares. They're going to keep Erebus busy while the other characters create a slash big enough so we can fly Warworld inside of Erebus, where then Damian Wayne will make the ultimate sacrifice to unleash the life equation inside the anti-life equation, which will create an entire new galaxy because it's pretty much antimatter and matter for like hitting each other, causing an explosion, giving our heroes only a few minutes left. It's honestly a lot like we have with the Picard series finale that we just had this past week. It felt very similar in that era. Like, obviously, there's nothing because either one wouldn't have known about the other at that point in time, but it felt very similar for the aspect of that. And I was worried in that, oh my God, who's going to die because this is the finale to everything. But when we have the idea of Damian sacrificing himself, it works out for me, even though he's letting people like John and Cassie down because of how much they love him, but they understand what he has to do. The thing that really bothers me, though, is just like the little things that we need to do to move the story along that don't really feel like they're needed. Like, we have to open up a doom tube, a specific anti-life boom tube that we've had throughout this run that all of our anti-life virus monsters have gone through. But we can't go through a doom tube for life. Well, you know what we're going to do then? Since Cyborg has, interacted with Brainiac, and now he's a Brainiac cyborg super being, we're going to hook all of our soldiers up to these devices that are individual, so it's going to give you enough of a shock to kill you for a minute and shock you back up, so get us through the doom.
Did it remind you of Forever Evil with Nightwing, where they had to have him die? And
I forgot about that. No, I didn't think about that. But
that's what it reminded me of right away.
But it's just the idea, like the idea maybe of writing yourself into a corner with the doom tubes, to where you have to have these weird scenes where everybody has to be killed.
You have to be in limbo, though.
But it means nothing ultimately to the story. It's just like a little weird side bit.
Again, the funny play is, I was going to say that as well, and even some of the other things in here with the anti-life and the life and the idea that I kind of bitched and moaned at the beginning of the World's Finest earlier of explaining something that you don't need. It's like the idea, like, then you're there. And then I'm thinking like, okay, I don't really know the spirituality or the science of this, but once you get back and you're in limbo, can you still be alive? Like, everything kind of got wacky with me. But like I said, and I'm not saying that I think everybody should hate this. It's just that by the end, I was afraid of what happened. I did not have many feels, and I do get feels. There's times where a Damian Wayne has died and I cried. There is something coming up in the next couple of weeks that I read and cried twice. I do get feelings. And for some reason, whether it's just because of how this was paced or how this is ended, or that I didn't really get connected to these characters. Now, I'm connected to Damian, John, because of what I brought in. I don't think in this book, though, it's elevated that. I don't get this like, oh, man, they made me. This is why I said a lot of times, Tom Taylor, what he does for me is say I like the Creeper. Then I realize, holy shit, you did it. Or even like having remember what we really liked was Jason Todd and Ravager, Rose.
And the Unkillables, yeah.
And the idea, like the idea of she saw him die ahead of time, like that sort of shit got me, because then it was clever and really, really heartfelt moments. In this, by the end, I'm like, okay, well, he's just going to say, it almost gets to the point where I'm like, well, this is Elseworlds anyway, and whatever, as he goes off to do this. And I don't really even get exactly what they're doing full out, like life, anti-life. Yeah, but it's...
We'll just think of matter and antimatter.
I'm saying it's just the concept of that. That's not going to get me like, holy shit, this is awesome. Just seems like, okay, I have to figure out how to do this, and boom.
Because Damian Wayne has figured out the idea, since we have the anti-life going on there, still deep inside Cyborg, who created this virus himself, is the answer to the life equation, which he then hacks out of Cyborg to make sure that he has himself, and asks the Black Racer, will this work? And the Black Racer tells him, yes, this will work. So when you have this situation, I would have liked to have done something a little bit differently, so we didn't have to have the time to explain why people can get to this purgatory world using a doom tube where you can't be alive, where we hack something within Cyborg without him even knowing it, with the life equation to make a womb tube or something like that, so people can go through there, because we're just kind of just using the life equation against the anti-life.
Womb tube.
I was just trying to think of something like that.
It comes out just like that hole.
Sure, you can have that, but you're flying Warworld inside of Erebus, and Damian Wayne is going to unleash the life equation, which he's solved right now. And it's going to be a great moment in my mind where everybody realizes what he's doing, the sacrifice. You got to get out of here. But when you have Spectre, who is Alfred Pennyworth, and this is the last son that he has left, and he's going to teleport John Kent in there for the last minute he has left to sit there and talk to his best friend. love these moments, and especially when Spectre then leaves.
To me, it was Captain Kirk and Spock. It just
which is a great moment as well.
Yeah, but it just didn't feel right. I love the idea, though, that Superman, who's already sent in one deal, sent John away to be aged up. He'll send him off with anybody. What? You're going to say, okay, Spectre, you go and do it. You trust him.
But even when we have the situation resolved by Damian Wayne sacrificing himself to stop Erebus from pretty much deep inside of him, creating a whole new universe on this whole, outside of, our universe situation. And then Spectre, because this was his last son that he had left, Alfred Pennyworth, he goes and visits the universe that his son created to save our universe. All of these, I thought had some really great feels to them, and I loved this by the end.
I felt dead inside for this. I did not care one bit. I thought it was all forced. You went 7 issues and did shit, and then at the end, you're just throwing shit out there. Oh, antimatter and matter. Okay, well, that works because the Black Racer said it would, and off we go, and I just didn't care. I really didn't care. By the end, I did like these stars that look like a bat. I'm like, okay. Now you're really getting cheesy, but yeah, I thought this was a real big disappointment. I thought that it was this whole time. I think that this whole War of the Undead Gods, it didn't need to happen. And I think that it was forced because it was a seller and they asked him to do another. The big play, we wanted to get Superman back, and then but that didn't really mean anything.
We had a lot of things that were left open from the original series that we needed to have finalized.
I don't know that I needed it finalized by the end of this. And then all of a sudden it's just Erebus. And then you get a whisper down the lane with the Black Racer to end it. And I had no feels because I really didn't have connections to them. Maybe it'll read better as a trade. But me personally, didn't care. Really didn't care by the end and just wanted to get it done. But what would you give it?
Ultimately, I don't think the art's the strongest here, but it still worked for me for how I felt about the book overall. Some of the stuff, like I said, Black Racer just showing up to be the thing that just tells Damon what he needs to do. Even Guy Gardner taking on Darkseid for no reason except to have a little jokey moment during the war room moment that you need to have everybody pay attention. Didn't need that. And even the explanation of how everybody's going to get to Purgatory through a Doom Tube. It just felt like filler to the actual overall story, which did bring me down a bit. But I think by the end, it all worked out for me to have a good time for the ending of this book, where I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 5.5. I didn't like the art as much, and really, I didn't care. Like I said, I got no feels at the end. Just sat there. I'm like, all right. Even when they're like, can John go and talk to him at the last second? I don't know. Well, Alfred will make sure he's out right before. I'm like, really? I rolled my eyes. I'm like, this is nonsense. But I know a lot of other people. There's a bunch of 10s, but there's a bunch of 5s
just that
as well.
Damian Wayne is not going to die alone, and Alfred made sure that he was there with him and John.
Alfred would have been fine. I don't know that the John bit just seemed tacked on. I wish it was Alfred who just went and said, you know what? You're my last son, but I am proud of you. I think your dad will be proud. Tell him I said hi. I'm going to get killed soon, but I'm the Spectre. I don't know. It just seemed hokey when John was there with
There's nowhere else I would be at the moment but besides you. That's what Alfred says to his son.
Yeah, I think that it would have been better, but then John said, yeah! Goofy John.
John is sat down.
I just had
nothing.
What?
You were a great Batman.
Yeah, again, it really reminded me of he was trying to grab onto the Damian talking to Nightwing when he was going off to die. It just didn't work for me here. I didn't have it. And usually, like I said, I would get emotions and I would come on here and say, oh my God, I didn't realize. I was afraid I wouldn't, but boy, I got him. I ended up reading. I'm like, all right, move on to the next book.
Alfred lost his last son in his narration. I lost my last son.
Right now, I have in the last month brought up, and just now it brought up the idea of when Damian died and said to Nightwing, hey, by the way, we were the best, goes and dies. That sticks with, there's a lot of things like that will stick with me. I won't even remember this book by the end of the spookiest months of the year, July and August. I will have completely forgotten about it, I think, because it just didn't mean much. And we didn't like DCeased as much as others. So, again, that does happen. People love that.
I like that in Killables.
People love that deadly duo. I love that thing. Like it's, their firstborn child, but don't sell your soul, but then come in later and write a contract that you own. I don't know, Eric, but that is it. That is it for this section. But like you said, we may have more. We do. We have 2 more books. Not great, but we had some fun with them. We'll be talking about Batgirls. There's a sniper going around the hills, Eric. Oh my God, the hill sniper. Woo-wee. And then we also have Catwoman to end things. So we'll go off, little break, go to that, and then that will be it. Those are boys' toys, Eric, and I never thought that I'd get to use that
boys'
song.
Toys?
I don't believe that I was going to get to use a song until you had a little discussion later on in the second book with the punchline of the Catwoman's talking a little bit about the boys' toys. So we'll get to that second. And
Jesus.
She meant knives, but still, it's okay. It's okay, Eric. I know that you're a fan of Knives Chow, so I figured that we'd get there. I do like Knives Chow. I've ran into a lot of people that are really not fans of that movie recently, and I don't get it. I thought it was.
What do you mean you ran into them? You mean inside your house?
No, I had an accident. I hit them. I back-ended them in the parking lot.
Look, I don't have insurance, but how do you feel about Scott Pilgrim?
And then they're like, I hate that movie so much. I'm like, listen. And then I backed up into it again. It's not my favorite movie, but I think that it has, some fun parts. It is fun. Has a lot of crazy actors.
Love the soundtrack.
Yeah, it is really good. So they're going to do like a new thing, like a cartoon or something. But they got all of the voice actors, all of the actors back to do all their voices. So that's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool.
Cool.
Cool way to put your pants on. And here we are. We have 2 books.
Boys' toys.
To end this podcast. I thought that you would actually giggle because I thought you would have thought that while that it was mentioned. They ended up saying boys' toys. So I said to you even before with a little hint.
Should I play this at the beginning or the later? I'm like, what do you mean later? I was going to play
it once they end up saying it, but now you blew it. Now I wish I would have waited. By the way,
welcome. Games. Why don't you know what I'm thinking, guy?
Welcome to this last day. I want to hit like another song now, and we'll just reset this all. But here we are. We have 2 books, one better than the other, as I like to say.
Oh, yeah?
And it is, it's Batgirls and Catwoman. And if you aren't on the Patreon, first off, why not? I mean, you know what I'm saying, Eric? All the kids down at the rec center are talking about it. And so with that, at the end, we were talking about whether or not we would do thank God it's Friday, a Friday night podcast, or if we would record tonight, because we're recording this on Friday, a little behind the scenes, and just put it on the pod. So we were figuring out what books we're going to do, and like, oh yeah, we're going to do Batgirls and Catwoman. I don't know that that's strong enough to make its
Everyone's going to want to download that.
Nobody's going to do anything with that. So here we are.
Main event.
Hopefully, there at the main event. What's that, Eric? Yeah. See, that works there too. Right? I think it does. And really, all this ended up being was you needed to do 2 books tonight. Record quick because you wanted to watch that new Evil Dead movie.
Rise, yeah.
And you were given misinformation from a morning team from Allentown or Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Our morning show from Philadelphia, Preston Steve. Yesterday morning on my way to work, they're like, oh yeah, tomorrow Evil Dead Rise comes out in theaters and on HBO Max. I'm like, holy shit, I had no idea it came out on HBO Max. I know exactly what I'm doing Friday night. Jim and the rest of the people who listen to this, they go fuck themselves because I'm watching the new Evil Dead movie.
And now we're stuck with shit books.
No, we would have been.
What are you doing to me? I know. And really, I don't want to spoil things, but these are shitty books, Eric. They're really bad.
One better than the next.
Oh, my God. But one ends up just being like a nothing, and the other one seems like an after-school special that after-school specials would laugh at. I don't get it. I don't get what's going on, except that I see the creative teams involved, so then I kind of do get with it. You end up having the Batgirls book, which we'll start with. That's going to be ending. That's ending in June. Thank God. Really, me and you, and I want to point out, me and you we love Stephanie Brown. We love Cassandra Cain. We love Barbara Gordon. We love the characters in it. We've kind of gotten a little affinity to like Grace O'Halloran or whatever the fuck her name is. And all of this going down, the book still sucks. It's so bad. And it's a shame that they didn't have better writers because these characters and their fans deserve better than this. And I'll get into it, Eric. I'm telling you, it's just, I want to trying to get a positive spin as we go in. Like, there's something working that you can go with. I did laugh at one point when we get into this that Grace says that she's going to keep her eyes open. I'm like, you just missed out on a joke right there. Batgirls number 17. Then Boy's Choice mentioned in the Catwoman. Batgirls 17, written by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad. Is it there? Is it?
Yes.
Art by Robbie Rodriguez, Rico Renzi, and Becca Carey. Actually, I was just going to say, I don't think anybody on this whole creative team blocked us, but I'm wrong. Michael Conrad did. Oh, my goodness. But I did mention also on the Patreon, if you're not on that, I don't know why, Art, but yeah, Michael Conrad ended up sending a note to Gabe and thanking him for at least sticking it out. I think he realized how much of a torture it was for Gabe to go through both the Wonder Woman and the Batgirls book each and every month. And
he didn't give a shit about you doing it.
Well, no, he doesn't like me. Me and you like the characters in this book. This is nothing about us not liking the characters, not liking anything about it, except that it's just not a good book. It really isn't. There you go, Eric. What
you
an
covered
intro.
your ass. You did it.
What an intro for this. Did I? Am I going to get canceled now?
Yes, but not for this.
Not. Okay, that is true. Well, I'll join you in the canceled land. Is that your favorite?
You can't cancel me if I don't play.
It's right next to like Dinosaur Island and Gem World. This issue, you have a lot of weird things going on. It's going to be the push to the Jubilee? End of their run. You're going to have the Jubilee, but things happen and are said in this book that are so unnaturally presented in my mind. They do feel like, hey, when you get your cue, you come on stage now and you say your lines. It feels to me like an after-school special at points where things are just like, really, instead of dialogue, you're getting a lot of statements. Instead of naturally going back and forth with each other. Well, you have this weird
situation with everything that's going on in America right now, with all the gun violence and everything, where, like, a lot of times, writers will like to go, like, straight from the headlines. They're going to get topical with whatever their issue's going to be. And with all the gun violence that's going on in America, it feels like this is one of those. And everywhere else, we usually want to have a hard edge to it. Like, this is like, a dark storyline that we're going to deal with. It's dealing with gun violence. And this one, it's like, all right, we're going to hit them hard. You know what you should do? Not sell guns to people, but feed the homeless and give blood for the poor and needy. Guns aren't the answer. I'm like, I really, really strive for the days of Batman 44 where Scott Snyder really tried to be topical with his gun. But and even Priest with that film, like that Priest in Philly that we had in that one issue of Deathstroke, and that was heavy-handed, but I will pine for the days of those heavy-handed deals when it comes to the after-school special aspect of superheroes.
And here is the idea of this. Yeah, and I thought of the Priest one even more than the Batman 44. But when you usually have this kind of issue, even the Priest, what you'll do is you'll show, show us why guns are bad. And not everybody's going to, believe in this. So you're going to divide people anyway. But I'm saying what they're trying to do. Me personally, they scared the shit out of me because I know that I'm such a master of disaster that I like that lightsabers. None of that, Eric. I can't have it around. So you end up with blasters at my side. It's not good for me. I will be like Plexico Burris and blow my leg off.
You're going to be Han who shot first, but only by accident.
Yeah, my foot is what will happen. I'll miss a toe. So you end up where, you have that. And again, some people will agree, some people won't. But this ends up where they try to go a step further, and I think that what you usually have is a little bit that show, in this universe, which is kind of silly anyway, we're in the comics universe, but show, why guns are bad. Be a little more subtle about it. Maybe hit the feels,
fucking
right?
Batman. This is a Batman-related book. We are driven by gun violence nonstop with anybody who wears a bat cowl. This is not new territory, and you don't have to do this.
And where they try to go a different angle, and it's more of the Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff and all the, the one side versus the other. The idea right now, school shootings, all that going on, one side wants to ban guns. The others say if you ban guns, then there'll be more violence. And that's kind of the deal. And this is where you have that gang who is such a weird play in this, where they come in and they're not really trying to do anything bad. But they still, because of where Conrad and Clunrad stand, they have to still feel like pieces of shit, even though they are, in their mind, helping. Hey, Grace has been targeted. She wants a gun. Here's a gun. We need to arm everybody to their teeth to take care of the guns. No. Guns begot violence, begot guns violence. And then you end up where it goes too far, where Steph is there. Holy mo! Will you go? Just imagine if this is a real gang, and I mean, just the scene of me and you walking in, and we're like, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Oh, you guys should be setting up a soup kitchen, man. I'm like, really? Like,
you're
really?
Right.
This is what you're doing, and this ends up because of what they're trying to do. They're trying to go a little more, and some of those gangs do that sort of thing, But
sure do.
They end up where they're trying to. I think they're trying to get deeper with it, but it somehow makes it more surface level because it's just goofy. It's just goofy. Well, and even then it starts out where they're even going to rail in on gentrification. You get a mention of Burnside. And then just to make it so in your face, and this is what they do. They are desperately trying to grab anybody to like their book. This book is canceled, but their last ditch effort, Hail Mary, And they would think, which I think actually they're right on a bit, the Burnside crew would be the only people who may like a little of this. So you get these weird we've had this, but this is such a weird shout out. It's like, hey, Grace O'Halloran, I loved your podcast. Hey there, it's me, Grace, with what looks like a after the fact eye patch put on. And why do you like, the Hills? Why do you like this whole deal? Well, I like it because of that bubble tea cafe, Alicia.
Damn, Alicia, yeah.
What are you doing?
We're name-dropping Batgirl characters.
It's but this is what they do. This is why I think they fail miserably. First off, they never quite, this book and Wonder Woman, they never quite get their characters, fully. They try. I don't think they mean any bad intent. They're not harmful. They're just trying. All they do is try desperately to shout out to things. They end up in the Wonder Woman book, you're just going to have Silver Age, Golden Age characters just pop in and then leave just to say, hey, look, we know the history of the character in the book. In this, you're getting an Alicia shout out to, hey, look at us. We know Burnside. Who cares? They're just trying desperately to get people to think that they know what's going on from the book in the past. But even that, what happens when these two start talking to each other? It looks like all of a sudden they're really upset.
Well, even the idea for the way that it's like the art is portraying this idea of a podcast interview at the Aparo Park Jubilee, where all the food truck vendors are out there, going to have live music, doing all this stuff. It is weird to film this whole thing. Like, you have a film guy for a podcast. Look, she's branching out. She's doing many things. The podcast is just the main focus, but you have a lot of stuff going. And maybe it's one of them damn cameras. We're just with a broken lens. We're just getting audio, baby. It's all we got going on.
Even though we see a record on the screen, but that's not. It's all bullshit.
Just imagine where all of a sudden you are being interviewed by the greatest podcaster in your neighborhood, like a Jim Warner here, and all of a sudden you're talking about how you enjoy a restaurant, and then it's like, I always heard the Hill was rough. I feel like that's changing pretty fast. But not talking to the person interviewed. You turn to your person you're with, and all of a sudden you start having a conversation about your feelings to the person who would know this. So we feel safe here. I just hope it doesn't lose its character. But you're not talking to Grace O'Halloran. You're talking to your girlfriend at this point in time.
They look scared.
Are you auditioning at this point in time for some kind of lead? Because you're really trying to put the emotion in the person you're playing along with, but just not being the interviewee that you're supposed to be in the scene.
They're trying to get in. The Hills got talent.
The Hills have ears, not eyes. We don't need to fucking see you acting like this.
Yeah, they look at each other and they're like, yeah, we just moved here, but we're really scared of it changing. And then you end up where Grace throws shade at them, says, you're the assholes who are making this.
Goddamn new people moving in this neighborhood, gentrifying the whole shebang.
Yeah, so then she's like, oh my God, and even then, I always heard the Hill was rough, but it's changing. It's pretty good. Oh, I hope it doesn't lose its character. Grace gets mad, and then the girl goes, I didn't mean it's a bad place. No, nobody's... Stop. And so...
It's kind of a bad place. We had a serial killer 2 weeks ago.
Well, I'm saying she's saying it's not, but yes, it was. And then she has to tie it into, hey, everybody, the GCPD bunch of, layabout lazy asses. The reason why we end up being a little more safe is because the Batgirls, as the camera turns to the Batgirls. They're there at the festival. They're there with Kyle. Maps is not there, unfortunately. And, you end up having this down. But even the dialogue in this, and I've had a problem, and I think you have as well, with Cass throughout this series, where you go into this and suddenly she just goes on and on. At points you get, but some of the phrasings and stuff just doesn't feel right for her.
Hopefully she, continues on the progression of, because having not talking Cass at this point in time still feels silly to me. I'm talking about the Sapporo Park Jubilee interview and stuff like that. Not even the interview aspect of it, but just the scene in general, I still think is the best part of the book, because even when you have this going on where it's Grace O'Halloran just, hey, everybody, remember me, I'm part of the story. This is my neighborhood. For some reason, people care about a neighborhood in Gotham City with all these boroughs going on, which they turn Burnside into a borough, but people from Burnside care about a single neighborhood for some reason. Whatever. But the thing is, you have the Batgirls out of costume, out of character, just laying back and relaxing. And you have this really cool idea of them just having fun, cutting loose, and even dancing. And even the dancing that we have with the live music, it almost has this Batman Beyond intro feel with that cool, kind of hit dancing, kind of panel to panel scene that they have going on here. Until everything is thrown us under when we realize, holy shit, there's a sniper shooting, which took me the longest time to figure out what's going on, because the sniper apparently just shot a gas tank on a car that blew up the car, and I thought that was the main problem, but no, it's a sniper. I'm like, hell of a shot, because why would you show a sniper with a car exploding. That's to expect me to understand.
I actually got if I was there, if I was Kyle, and then the Batgirls start dancing, I'd be very uncomfortable. I don't like watching people dancing. That's because you're a dweeb. But yeah, you end up where, even so, some of the Force deals, you get the Force, callbacks and shout-outs. But then you have, out of nowhere, man, that Grace looks good since she stopped drinking. Just so later we think she might get back to the drinking. It's so forced in this. But yeah, there's a sniper. They end up, everybody's running. And there's parts in this that the dialogue seems like switched between characters as well. It's very odd, the progression, because you have Cass and Steph. They try to, grab everybody. They jump into action. Hey, everybody get down, go to the bookstore. They go the one place that we know of in the whole hill. So they're going to go into there. Everything is just forced to be the next thing. That they never developed anything. And then Grace comes in, and her cameraman, Rocky, he's out. I lost track of him. I couldn't keep my eyes on him. Made me giggle.
I'm telling you, I put this book down and I laughed out loud. Like, don't worry, Mr. Howard. He probably got separated in the cast. I shouldn't have taken my eyes off him. Like, why'd you say eyes? Really? Do you need Kyle to drop your ass and to start laughing at you?
I know. I laughed so much. But yeah, you end up where, okay, Steph and Cass, they're going to go out. It's weird that nobody's going to bat an eye that these two girls.
Still makes more sense than Selena Kyle and Catwoman in the Catwoman book come out.
I'm not saying that this is worse. I'm saying, though, that all these people are like, oh, you two young girls? Yeah, go out the back door. That'll give you more cover. They just go and change into their Batgirl uniforms. So they're going to go out. They find Rocky, who's in big trouble. And at points, looks like CPR is being given, and he's going to die. And Cass goes off to find the shooter as the shooter keeps going. The sniper. And yeah, too late. The shooter is gone. But it looks like Rocky, he is close to death. He's in critical condition. They come and take him. And then you have Renee Montoya show up. Oh, these Batgirls.
Thank you, Batgirls.
Sick of them getting here first. But what?
You helped
Thank
today.
you. Like, all right. And yeah, they have a nice bit of a conversation there.
Hey, Batgirl went after them, but I lost visual. Found room they shot from. Did you get him? Tell Commissioner Montoya. Next time. And I'm like, I'm not telling her that because that's kind of a fucking dick move just to say, hey, you're not going to do your job, but we'll get him next time. We'll wait for more violence to do what we're needed to do.
That's the thing. I'm like, wait till he kills somebody else.
Next time on Batgirls.
It's shade being thrown at Renee Montoya and the GCPD as if they're not going to investigate lickety anything here. They're just going to go, all right, well, they said next time. Let's go back and have lunch. And so they go back, and you have Steph and Cass. Steph's really upset. And I get it. She's upset. She's trying to work off some steam. They're training. But that's when Cass has to reach down into her Luke Skywalker self and say, listen, you can't be this angry. We can't do this. And that's where Steph's like, listen, I still have this bullet scar here. I am pissed off. Cass says, don't let your anger cloud your sight.
I just never got the idea here from this training that she was like, she was out of control, furious, Steph.
But yeah, she shows the scar, and then Cass says, we both have scars. They're going to try to one-up each other now and go down the line. But yeah, the whole thing is this. I mean, seriously, Eric, this line, it's, hey, no, you're right. It's just, I know what it feels like. The bullet, it left a scar. Yes, we both have many, each with a story. They fade with time, but
classic
the ones
Cass.
inside our hearts. I'm like, really? That's the feels here? The scars of our hearts.
Of course.
Yeah, I love that. Like you said, it is nothing like a Cass, but there they are, waxing poetic. And in this issue, you will have Barbara Gordon.
Oracle, yeah.
She'll keep getting a hold of them. I think I might as well call her.
What's going on?
I might as well call her Batgirl because I believe that around in October or November, we'll be getting a Barbara Gordon Batgirl book. But
what are you talking about? Aren't we going to have Batgirl Cassandra Cain doing Spirit World stuff?
Well, yes, she'll be doing that. Yeah, at least she'll be doing something in the spooky months of the summer. But yeah, when they have this going on, you end up having Barbara who... I don't know. She's very nice.
Where's that bitch, Barbara Gordon? I'm used to.
It's kind of a shame here, though, because I think that the Clone Reds wanted to make more of a progression. They just ran out of time of Barbara saying, okay, you girls, you can do what you want. I trust you. Because it was always her trying to be like the den mother and being worried about him. But here it seems
that was what it was supposed to be, but it never felt like we actually ever
didn't. That's what I'm saying. You never
especially
did
when you're
do
reading
that.
Nightwing at the same time, when she's barely ever in the hill and she's in Bloodhaven bagging her boyfriend.
Well, that's why right now she's actually in bed with Dick Grayson. That's why she's always on the comms.
At the one point when she said, like, I'm leaving, and they're like, the apartment's yours because I'm going to go do my own thing over here because the clock tower's rebuilt it. It's like, I never got the idea like we ever spent that much time with Den Mother Barbara Gordon as it seems she was supposed to be this entire series.
Yeah, so it actually is. That's part of this that's a shame. They didn't develop that enough. I'm saying they didn't have enough time, but we're on issue 17 for crying out loud. They had time, but still, with all of this, she is very more like forgiven. Then even with this of the heart talk that you had Cass and Steph have. Then all of a sudden, Barbara's like, listen.
Less Barbara Gordon. We need more Mrs. Garrett.
Yeah, it's like she's the girls. She feels like HR got a hold of her, and she's like, I wish I had more time to talk to you, but if you guys feel bad and you need to talk, I'm always here. What is going? It's so forced in that after-school special deal. It's just too forced. Then we go to Grace O'Halloran that, I mean, you want to hear her angry. She threw her potty at the TV.
Is that a potty, or is that just a camera on a selfie stick? Like
it might be a selfie stick. I'm saying it's a potty, Eric.
Okay.
Why is she destroying her office? I know she's upset, but she ruined her, real shitty TV. I mean, you can't get those anymore.
I don't even understand because wherever you record from, it's already destroyed, but you're always angry.
She has 3 pictures hanging on the wall. She has punched each one of them. Why is she punching pictures on the wall?
Still looks better than your place.
Each one is destroyed. Well, that's the thing. That is true. But I'm angry, too. That she knocked over a filing cabinet. She wrecked her TV, which the TV, it looked like she threw the potty real far, but it's right there.
And podcast producer, Rocky, is in critical condition because she was targeted. She's upset, Jim. This is called emotion.
Another forced deal was right before he ended up having the problem. She had to be mean to him. But now we see it's not the demon in the bottle. It's eye patch in the bottle, Eric. She's got a bottle there. She's going to go back to the drinking. Oh my goodness.
Well, maybe she already did for the idea that she goes to the Hills Angels looking for a gun to protect herself.
It might be here. What I
called courage,
know now.
Jim.
She just recorded episode 100, Eric. She got too much gin. She passed out. Yes. So all this going on, she's upset. And I guess at the end of this, are we going to have like a marriage, baby? She really is going on and on about Rockies.
Like you care about somebody without marrying him.
Well, I'm telling you, I hear Cinderella, don't know what you got till it's gone. There's some trouble here. She really realizes that she loves the Rocky. She was not watching him with her eye. And then all of this going down, though, is, okay, Batgirls are going to go out and patrol. And again, this is a thing that we talk about in this book especially. There's never any trail of anything. They just always end up exactly where they need to be at the exact. So they just show up. They're like, hey, let's go check out this gang. And there they are, the Hills Angels, which is kind of.
They've been a problem this entire time.
They're there in the, but in the graveyard. But the idea, the whole deal of, oh my God, we have, why don't they go look for the sniper? But they end up going and they see and don't really say that Grace is there. Getting a gun. You see it's Grace. She has a cap on she's working incognito. Down at the wharf. I mean, not really. She has an eye patch. I mean, there's not many places you're going to go.
Look, she has a beanie on and a hoodie. Looks like she's working the docks or a pier. Not a sexy way. She's obviously a pirate.
I think she is. And for some reason, she bought a sawed-off shotgun, it looked like.
We call that a blunderbuss in pirate world.
She's putting nails and shit. Oh, my God. So she obviously wants to find the sniper and make him walk the plank. This is what we know at this, right?
Keelhaul.
You have this, and then she's also looking for me doubloons. But she's there, and so this is that play. Now, if you're going to play this game here...
She keeps this up, though. I'm going to put her in the yard until she's sober.
Oh, my God. Well, yeah, but...
That's what you do with a drunken sailor.
The problem here, that is true. The problem I have here is that usually, and I think it's a better way to play it, is usually you want to show a Grace. She's distraught, possibly liquored up now. She stopped drinking. She was looking better, but now she looks like a pirate. She's off. It is funny. She has that eye patch, too. I was just thinking of the cat for some reason. She may have a peg leg. We haven't confirmed or denied that.
And a blunderbuss.
And a blunderbuss. So she gets that. But usually the play here is to show this person who normally wouldn't do this because they're upset.
Man, I don't know Grace that well.
Get themselves in danger because they have tried to, get this gun or whatever.
Grace has never been anything but in danger in my mind.
Well, it's true, but she should have already had a gun. I mean, she really probably has stalkers and stuff. So the Batgirls are watching. They jump in to stop this, but it's never really at a point where they're saying, like, Grace, you should know better, or Grace runs away with the blunderbuss.
Damn right she does.
Under the cover of the night. What's going on?
It's a sting operation. She needs to get out of there.
She's the one who runs.
I'll tell you, the thing is, we have the Hills Angels selling guns to Grace L. Howard in the cover of night in the freaking local cemetery. It's all well and good until you get to the whole after-school special about how the Hills Angels should be better people.
That's fine.
I'm saying, though, I don't care about anything that Grace is doing here. She's protecting her ass. Whatever you need to do at this point in time. All I cared about during this entire interaction, especially when the Batgirls show up to kick a little Hills Angel's ass, is that we have a mutant from The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, yeah, we do.
I'm telling you, I was telling him, like, this is real Billy Bad. We need to shiv him up. I needed this guy to talk like this, and he did not talk like this. But it's straight up a mutant from The Dark Knight Returns. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. We're finally getting to that future.
We were there. We didn't know what was happening in the hills.
Every time they show up in a Batman-related book, I just feel like we're finally getting to that dark future.
And a lot of people like to wink, so it's kind of...
Ooh, he's real Billy Bad.
So in this, though, like, take the Batgirls out of the scene and have Grace there. And Grace is a questioning Grace. She ends up having the podcast, all the stuff that she does. So she's there and she's buying a gun. This is
great podcast content, honestly. I'd have a whole episode about me buying a gun from a gang in a cemetery. Shit.
And she kind of gets in the pod and says,
scared, I'm not having an episode.
She's buying a gun. She says, hey, I need this. But you guys, isn't it weird you're selling like this gun violence? And they could say all the things they still say to Grace. And then Grace, okay, well, I don't know, and goes away. When the Batgirls show up, it throws a wrench in this because Grace has to slip away. And then the Batgirls, especially Steph, have to go on with this whole deal. You guys should be doing a food drive. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. And it just seems silly that these guys probably are like looking at each other, but yet they react in a way that they're taking that seriously. But then you get back to the idea. If we don't have guns, then they'll shoot us all. Yeah, but if you don't have guns, they won't have guns. No. And it just kind of goes around in circles with this. And then they tie them up. And it just felt weird. And that's why Grace left, because they want to end up tying him up, but Grace can't actually be, the bad person. And then the sniper arrives. Like, what is going on?
To save the Hills Angels and stuff like that. And they start shooting, the sniper's shooting. We have to get down. We subdue the Hills Angels, but we need Grace to get away, because I'm sure that is a part of the further story of this whole idea.
Well, she's going to try to use
We have to talk Grace down from, killing somebody probably, and be a little bit more heavy-handed.
She's going to go off, and with the solicits, it seems that this might be Gun Bunny and Gun Hawk or one of the other, whatever the case may be. And they seem to be into it, like, we want to take down the Batgirls. It has to be something about...
If this is Gun Bunny or Gun Hawk, I feel like we would see them, because they're notable characters, even though Gun Hawk's supposed to be dead at this point in time, but that's never stopped the Clue and Rats before.
I think it's supposed to be a surprise.
Of a mysterious sniper who's trying to do this to, not for revenge, but truth, I'm like, doesn't really work for the character for me.
No, well, whatever it was. To look at their dead man and Wonder Woman, nothing works for them. So I think that the whole truth and the thing is like, people are against these guns, and that's what we're all about. So nobody can. It's just going to be goofy. And so you end up where the Batgirls save, some of these guys. They knock them down in like a grave there. It's pretty cool. Or at least a ravine. I don't know what it is. And, you have this, and Cass goes off again. And when she gets there, the sniper's gone, and they have a note, one for each Batgirl. And the funny thing is, because of the two things, I'm like, there ain't there's three there. The panels are separate. I'm like, what the fuck are these other Batgirls? But yeah, you have that. Oh no, they're gonna get the Batgirls. So this is the big play here.
Hey, Barbara, lay low for a little bit, huh?
Yeah, really. Stay over there. In Bloodhaven with Nightwing. But yeah, when they're going, though, like you said, even the dialogue of the narration of this sniper, it just didn't feel right of anything. And especially if it's Gun Bunny and Gun Hawk, but it felt odd. It was like...
Well, even the idea where you have a lone sniper who, just a guy who's essentially a terrorist who just wants to bring terror to people and stuff. Like, whenever you have a gun situation like that, like we had that who's that guy years ago? It's the college shooter that we had, the college sniper, or the Washington, highway sniper.
The highway sniper.
Whenever we had stuff like that, you always had this lone guy who always like a manifesto, it feels like, because this is what my entire life lost because of a lie.
That's what it feels
about
like.
Revenge. Yeah. It's about truth. And I'm not afraid to speak it. And even the idea when you go before that, where it's just so weird, because I'm telling you, this is not even a monologue to me as you're just watching the Batgirls. This is a manifesto of the entire city. One big mask. The hill is really turning around. That's what they say. Lies. Like this shit's almost fucking Rorschach's journal at this point. The fact that this city still relies on vigilantes says it all. Look, if you say this is Gun Honk or Gun Bunny, it's no Gun Honk or Gun Bunny I've ever seen.
It's very odd. It is very odd. Now, I am looking, and is there a possibility? Now, think in your mind. Think of your man Gun Hawk. Kind of has a mask, visor, like the guy you said was gonna, like in the Dark Knight Returns stuff.
He doesn't really do mutant stuff like that now.
Yeah, I know, but he does have, like, he usually wears a bandana around his head and has that kind of look with those that maybe there's something weird going on there, that it's Gun Bunny up in the sniper deal, and that this might...
And all of a sudden Gun Hawk has shaved his head and looked like a mutant in disguise to Hell's Angels.
If you look at Gun Hawk, he usually has a bandana. You never really see any hair. He usually has that, American flag bandana over it. So if he takes that, I don't know how he would have infiltrated the Hells Angels. I don't know. But it's very odd, because what got me was the idea that whoever it is, if it is Gun Bunny and Gun Hawk, man, these masks, I'm like, I think that both of them wear kind of like goggles and a mask.
Well, the thing is, I just had to look it up here because obviously it's been a while since I've thought about Gun Hawk and what he specifically looks like.
He does look like that's not him. He looks deranged, that mutant guy. But it is a similar look.
The mutant looks like a mutant, but Gun Hawk's visor is more of like a Cyclops visor to a degree.
It is more. But who knows? I'm like, I don't know. If we all of a sudden we see a bandana in his back pocket, oh shit, we saw it. Look, the other guy with him has a bandana. Maybe he borrows it from him. I don't know. I'm trying to get something here. But at the end,
Jim, that's all you need.
At the end, all you gather up from all of this is, oh no, Grace has hit the bottle again. She's bought a blunderbuss and become a pirate. There's a force over the top, like the idea
Where's
that
the rum?
The joke is the after school special deal, because that's usually done by hacks and it's right in your face. But this is even worse. I mean, this would be like any sort of deal where me and you, like, we show up to a gang and teach them how to read and they teach us how to pop and lock. I mean, I'd rather have that, but it's just...
I feel like I've watched an episode like at least once a year during the 80s on every sitcom.
Yeah, you have that. I mean, really. And then you have like, Carlton's got a gun, right?
Oh, no.
He's going to cause problems. Then next thing you know, Jesse, she's getting speed. Holy shit, Erica's got it all.
But got to pay for that speed somehow, too, Jesse.
So she is so excited.
Showgirling.
Yeah, at the end of this, though, it's laughable. It's cringe.
No, it really
the whole
is.
time.
It's very cringe the entire time. I'm telling you, up until that point, I don't mind the issue. It is pretty much standard Coonrad's Batgirls at that point in time. But when you get to the idea of the topical situation of gun violence and what it does to people in neighborhoods, and it is so heavy-handed over the top, you just like kind of wince away as you're reading, like, oh god, I can't look, but you have to keep reading because you have to do a goddamn podcast on it. Like, I like the Apollo Park Jubilee, even though it's primarily filled with like Grace O'Halloran trying to talk about gentrification for her podcast. But the Batgirls being able to cut loose with Kyle, do some fun stuff like that. I want to see some stuff. Even when the Batgirls are training right there, it's a little heavy-handed showing the bullet mark on and stuff. That is fine as well. It's just when we get to the back half of the book, it all falls apart for me because it becomes laughable and how serious they want to take this because they can't write anything that's truly serious. It always has to be a caricature of what real seriousness looks like.
Yeah, I didn't like it from the beginning, though. I was very surprised that we didn't have Marv Wolfman and George Perez serving up slices at the whole... They're everywhere, those guys with their pizza trucks. So in that, though, what would you give it?
Ultimately, I'm going to give this a 5.9 out of 10. I think the art is great throughout this whole thing. And the story could be good, especially coming out of a place where Steph was just killed by a bullet and brought back to life. It just never really plays as hard as I think the Coonrads wanted to do. And Grace O'Halloran, as a pirate and with one eye, like that whole thing, her going off is the most interesting part about the story. A lone sniper like this, it just feels weird, especially for the Hill neighborhood and the Batgirls to be so, like, so into this idea of taking this one person down when this is way outside of a usual Bat's pay grade, and how they keep getting pretty much, they're failing the entire time. It's a strange story whenever you do it, but there's aspects to it I don't mind. It's just overall, it's basic Coonrad kind of bullshit. It's not something that I really gravitate towards in the type of storytelling that they ever do here. And the Batgirls continues to disappoint, but a 5.9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 5, just a regular 5. I do like the art. But again, I said it earlier. I don't think they mean harm when they're doing these things. They think they're fighting the good fight. They want to give this whole deal. That's
Could you
fine.
Imagine if they actually meant harm in doing any of that?
Maybe it'd be funny if they meant harm. I think that maybe there'd be a good story there. Maybe it'd be a weird deal that's
I'm
like
gonna burn this mother down through this comic story.
Yeah, really. And so when they're
Agent
doing
of Chaos.
this, again, like a guy, they're not deconstructing the character. They are trying to elevate their characters. They just don't know how. They're just not very good at it. I don't think they get the characters fully, and they kind of get stuck in these ruts. And
you
this
can't
rut
elevate 2 dimensions.
Yeah, well, and that's good, Eric. That's almost as good as my I want a character, not a caricature, which I thought you might have wanted to borrow a little earlier, but that's mine. I trademarked that, Eric. But yeah, by the end, it's just I end up.
It's
one of those things. I've talked about it before. I don't like the Wonder Woman book. I think that's really bad. The Batgirls book, it's what it is. It's just this little thing on the side. It could have been better, and I wish it was.
What should be 18-year-old girls acting like 13-year-old girls trying to deal with serious situations, but in a dumbed-down way.
Yeah, I would have loved it if the idea was like, I know what's going on, Cass. I had this bullet wound, and Cass is like, bitch, that happened 3 days ago. Like, seriously? You're really into get out of town.
I gave birth and gave my kid up for adoption, too. More scars, Cass.
Where is that? I'm telling you, there's so many things going on. Just the idea that we know how Cass was. Yeah, Steph had a bad childhood. Nothing compared to Cass, the only one who really can. And seriously, go to Cass and talk shop would be Damian in my mind. They could really talk.
Man. Cass is going to grow up and have a Neverland. She didn't have a childhood.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, seriously. But at least Damian, they kind of like nod to each other like, yep, we killed millions of people.
That's the thing is, Cass was like made to be a weapon and was constantly just terrorized by her parents to be the most perfect weapon without speaking. Damian had a great childhood. He got to kill people, and he thought this was the best thing ever.
Well, that was the thing. There is a different deal. Damian was told that was great, like you said.
This was royalty.
It was more of a royalty fun type thing. Cass, remember at points where they would go back and forth with this, especially in the Batman and Robin Eternal, she would get up in the morning, and it was like, okay, you're not just going to eat breakfast. You're going to have to fight for survival to eat breakfast. And she would get attacked by hundreds of people, and she'd have to kill them just to be able to eat.
Today's breakfast is bagels. To get those bagels, we're going to play the most dangerous game. Man.
Yeah, man, because here they come, and hopefully you eat pieces of shit like them for breakfast, because I didn't buy eggs and bacon. I'm sorry. And then she just starts fighting,
bagels.
Right? But yeah, and that's why, again, she didn't ever learn to talk because they didn't have any reason to teach her. And then she learned body language to help out. Everything was just a razor focus for her to be a killing machine. So you don't get that here. Maybe luckily, but and that's why it's a weird play.
We've moved past that.
When the Clumrads, but when the Clumrads are writing this, you do end up almost like, well, like you said, she's getting to dance and she can read the books. That is nice, but I don't think they quite understand how nice.
Batman Beyond's intro.
Yeah, dancing. That would have been, I'm telling you, that would. At first, I thought they were the only ones dancing. I can't even watch videos when that happens. Like, there's a concert.
Those are people having fun. Not on my watch.
Well, I'm telling you, listen to you, Mr. No Fun. But
I ain't stopping anybody else's.
And you have these two people in the front dancing it up, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Having a good time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're just trying to get attention on themselves. I think that's what it is.
I think this is more of you just like projecting your own emotions. Having a good time with your family? Look who wants attention.
Yeah, I'm telling you, though, if they were the only ones dancing and they get up in the middle of this nonsense. Catwoman number 54, written by Teenie Howard, art by Nico Leone, Veronica Gandini, and Lucas Gattoni. Oh, my, Eric. Oh, my God. Catwoman, Eric, get this. She's going to get out of prison. Thankfully, because we had so much of Aiko as Catwoman that I'm kind of like, whew, maybe we can cool this down.
Jim, you don't understand. There was so much of Aiko Catwoman going on here. They even stopped somebody in this issue, and Tom Cat and her say, look, the night's still young. I have a meeting later on, but we can still clean up Alleytown before Selena gets out. They had a whole other adventure. We just didn't get to see it. So much I go, Catwoman, just over there. Just over there. You can't see it, but it's over there.
It is like the classic, any sort of teen movie where the big party happened. Now they have to clean up. You know, the parents are on their way home and calling and whatnot. So they're going to do that, but it's just nonsense. It's nonsense. So you go, and boy.
So the best part of the book.
Well, it is. Actually, I don't know what is because.
Great. I'm telling you, I actually don't know what the best part is.
No, because the stuff in the prison is a slog. And it's been a slog, but now we're just going to jump around. And not like cool jump around like House of Pain. We're going to end up where it's like Selena's there and they're raking the leaves. And, hey, and seriously, before we go any further, when you end up having the idea, really pushed, I can die and come back. I swear.
She can be on the verge of dying. She has a healing factor.
I think this is like a wink, wink that Valmont's going to, just like her. It's nonsense. And so, yeah, this plan, but you don't even know what's happening. And this plan of Selena, well, eventually we'll get out of here. But if we start a fight with the Queen of Hearts, they'll end up putting us on full lockdown. So we have to do it before or during or all this. And then Selena's just jumping out of freaking vents. And
well, that's the thing about this issue, because we have the whole idea that the Royal Flush Gang, or the part of the Royal Flush Gang, you know, the Queen of Hearts and her Crazy Eight squad, Regina Quintain, they got their asses arrested because they believe that Catwoman was arrested during the whole big Ace Chemical explosion, and she's the Catwoman that's on the streets. It's not the real Catwoman. She obviously is in Blackgate prison. We're going to get our asses in there, find that Catwoman, get some payback, revenge, and kick her ass. But when you have Selena Kyle come in to pretty much confront Regina Quintain and talk about the idea of Queen of Hearts, what are you doing here? What's Punchline up to, you bitch? Hey, Selena Kyle, it's crazy. I know you were arrested the night of that Ace Chemical plant that you weren't explosion that you weren't involved in. I think Catwoman was too. Have you seen that bitch around? Because I really don't like her. Throughout this entire issue, I don't know if it's funny or infuriating, the idea that nobody can realize that Selena Kyle is Catwoman, or even the idea at this point in time in DC Comics lore, people just don't know that Selena Kyle is Catwoman. I don't know what they're playing here, but it doesn't work. Anything that we're doing, even when Catwoman in this issue, Selena Kyle in prison, takes her prison shirt off and makes a mask out of it, and people just start calling her Catwoman. I'm like, you know who that is. Stop it. Don't play this fucking game. Be smarter than this.
I love a couple things. First off, they're out raking leaves, right, in the yard. At one point, are they raking them so well that it looks like there's an 80-foot tall pile of leaves? But then when you end up having
these
scene,
trees.
I don't know. I don't know. And so you have all this going down, but when they are in the bathroom, and you have the Queen of Hearts, and she's talking to Selena, and you have Teeny Howard wanting to play the game. Oh my, that it would be such a shock that the Queen of Hearts has figured this out. So you end up having almost that page turn of, hey, I think I just figured something out. The idea that she's sitting there thinking, okay, Selena Kyle, you're here. I think Catwoman is as well. But I see you're in charge of everybody. You're running things. Wouldn't you just...
and crawling sneakily like a cat through vents.
It'd be funny. It's like that whole deal. Huh. So you came out of those vents, like a cat.
Selena Kyle, the master thief in prison with the Catwoman. The master thief and Batman enemy/frenemy.
Yeah. And so all that going down, you end up with the craziness of, I think that I figured this out. Selena Kyle, you're working with the Cap. I'm like, come on now. Are you that dumb? Plus,
it takes me out of the story immediately.
Oh my God. I got taken out immediately at the point where, immediately I did when they're out just talking nonsense. But the big play of this plan and how we're going to do this, you do end up where Selena wants to have a plan, but everybody else has their own plan, Mark.
And we have our own plan going on, but we can't tell Selena Kyle because we can't let her get involved in this whole thing. So we're going to keep her out of it so nobody else finds out about it. And we're just going to enact a plan to get us all out of here. But really, Sasha, the Lady Clayface, I need you to hide a utility blade in your Clayface skin. I want to take it, jab myself in the neck, me being Marquise, because I'm a strong lady, just like my daddy, which means I'm super strong and have a healing factor. So when I start bleeding out to the point where people think I'm dead, they're going to take me to the morgue because me, for some reason, knows that they never check any of the alarms down at the morgue.
They don't check a pulse.
There's a garage door down there, but you know what? I'm not the only person who knows that they don't go lock the garage door in the morgue of the freaking Blackgate prison. So when I go to open that shit so we can all get out of there, Punchline is on the other side, and now she's breaking into prison to have that final showdown with Catwoman until she does and says, well, you're right, Catwoman, we should work together.
Yeah. And
What? What?
Here, you dial it back a bit. Here's the deal. You have argued and complained about this since the beginning of the idea that you have metahumans. You have metahumans in a regular just prison. They have Lady Clayface. All she has to do is get this blade and shove it in her clay. This is why they can't have regular prisoners.
Well, I'm telling you, even the idea when we actually have the revolt going on, we're going to create a distraction before any other guards can lock us down completely. My girl's going to go up against the Crazy Eights, cause this gigantic distraction, and then we're all eventually going to go for the guards to try to make our way out of prison. And when that shit happens, we got a cyborg lady, we got Lady Clayface, we got this bitch breathing tear gas out of her mouth. All of this shit comes out of nowhere, and the guards are overwhelmed. I'm like, how does nobody know how to deal with this, or why is this happening? Where are the freaking inhibitors at?
What is going on here? Like, the idea that these guys should be
This guy is pointing a gun at Lady Clayface. Like, that would do anything.
Yeah. Also, I just want to know what the fuck Selena's drawing. I mean, I'm a bad artist, but look at that fucking scribbly scratch they're doing. Also, Lady Clayface is like working. Is she like shaping her foot? She's doing clay shit. It's all ridiculous. So you go, and then when you have that going down, nobody checks Marquise to see if she's really dead. They're just like, shit, that was a lot of blood. I guess she's dead, so let's just...
I imagine that they did. It's just one of those aspects where she is, like, you know, gone to the point of her, like, heart is really shallow because of the amount of blood she lost.
Really shallow is not dead. They would just, I mean, they've assumed she's dead. They haven't even taken her to the hospital to be pronounced dead. It seems that you're just like, bitch is dead. Then have to go even more. Yeah, somebody told me that I saw a little wink. These lesbians.
She winked at one of the girls after she did some weirdo lesbian killing pact.
I'm like, what?
Well, the thing is, if you want to make this more prison-like, more of like, you know, over-the-top weird, go for it. But that is a weird line out of nowhere for this series.
That's such a weird line out of nowhere. It's just these things that even at the one point you have the Crazy Eights, they show up. Hey, Selena Kyle, what's going on? Nice haircuts, ladies. Ooh.
I even like the idea when Marquise wakes up in the morgue and this is like, can't count the number of times I've escaped lockup this way. Normal prisoners never learn to alarm the morgue doors. I'm like, how many times have you escaped lockup this way? And has it always been Blackgate? Has it been other places? Because who is not double checking this once it happens once?
You don't realize they're like, oh man, Marquise is back. Didn't you hear she's been pronounced dead 17 times up till now? Like, that throws everything out. It does. It's so ridiculous. The idea of this.
Does that throw everything out, or the idea that
everything
the
does.
morgue doors don't have fences or cages around them for Punchline just to be on the other side of the garage door?
And I love that everybody just knows this, and it is. Even though you said, like, oh, well, maybe Marquise, maybe she was, like, so near death, the deal, but they're still walking away. They're in earshot when she just, you know, gets up like the Undertaker and is good. So it doesn't make any sense. And then she goes off, yep, looks like I'm going to open up this here garage door because I lost a lot of blood, but I'm still strong.
Just like my daddy.
And there's Punchline. Hey, what up? And then this
Finally, we figured out the morgue door wasn't alarmed, but Regina said she couldn't find a way here. Did she send you? Yeah, I'm totally working for Regina. Cool, let's go. All right, cool, Punchline. What is your end game now? Like, I'm telling you, the Gotham game, in my mind, it felt like you were elevating the character of Punchline. And we were even in this book talking about the idea that, holy shit, we have to worry about Punchline's Phase 2. What's Phase 2 at this point now, where Punchline breaks into prison to take on Catwoman personally from everything else we saw about her, like, operation with the Royal Flush Gang going against the Gentleman's Club, and even manufacturing XO in the freaking Alley Town? How does any of that just lead, gonna go to prison and fight that bitch? Phase 2.
Phase 2. I love the two. Like, you have this play, and Teenie Howard can't write it in any sort of, you know, way that makes sense or goes smooth. You end up having Marquise. She opens up. Oh, my God, Punchline. Punchline's like, oh, man, it took you long enough, so hurry up. I'm ready to kick Catwoman's ass once in a row. Okay, I'll get her. You stay here. But then they start walking together, but then they don't. And then you end up having Marquise say, wait, the COs are hot. I just set all this off. It's how I got back here. I don't even know what she's saying. And then Punchline goes, not my problem. All right, sure thing. Give me... What's happening? I don't even understand what they think is happening, what is going on. And then you get Marquise, who then like goes off, but Punchline's still in phase 2, Eric. And then
phase 2, just walking through prison.
Marquise comes back. Now, nobody has batted an eye that the dead woman now is running back through the prison. And she's
am I supposed to memorize all the living people's faces, let alone the dead ones?
Just to point out, too, when you ended up having Marquise
a revolving door around here.
Marquise slices her throat, and then the guards are more concerned to yell, "We know you did this, Kyle!"
Damn
for
right.
no reason, right?
Remember Tom King's run where you went Arkham Asylum for killing 243 people? You psychopath, where everybody knew you were Catwoman, but we don't anymore. Good times.
I'm just thinking that, Marquise is running. Oh no, that 5-timed ghost is back. She's always dying. So she comes running in. Oh my god. You're not going to get this, Selina. It's Punchline they want you to meet. Duh. Come in and I want to show you something. Let's go into the vents. All right, I'm not really into that all the time. But
don't be too worried when you come into this vent and you see me. What are you talking about? Oh my god, Catwoman. Makes an awful lot of sense. You trust me like that? I've got to. Now show me where to go. Show you where to go. You've been doing nothing but vent shit for the past week.
They're in a vent. I love the idea. I wish that Marquise goes up into the vent. It's like, holy shit, where did Selina go, Catwoman?
She might as well at this point.
Yeah, she might as well. And then, then they go out. Now it's going to be, why are they allowed now? At one point, they were getting yelled at least, like, hey, get in the common room, ladies. Now they're just running around wherever they want. They go out to the yard at night, and they're going to have this fight. But yet, I see a guard there. Is he paid off? We don't know. And then all of a sudden, the fight is on. Catwoman shows up, and nobody can figure out that that's Selina. Same clothes. Just has a
same
mask.
Body type, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It's you. And then Teeny Howard's going to play that same game with Aiko in a little bit, but it just doesn't work. And now we're going to have the fight. But in that, the fight ends up because since Selina, throughout all this, is really planning on getting, as far as we know, murderers. Hey, they're good people at heart. I'm going to teach them to steal stuff. That's not illegal. So we're going to break out.
Girls, Punchline. Girls with power. Girls I taught how to be thieves. You come out here and you can play a new game with me. I'm not going to join your pyramid scheme. It's not that. I need you to work with me. We can all win if you just join. You know what? It's a pretty good deal, Selina. I think I will. And even when you have the idea, it's like, all right, we're all going to get out of prison. Punchline and Selina are fucking hombres now. But you then have the idea where Punchline is now working with a member of the Gentleman's Club, and Black Mask's like, oh shit, we were just in a blood feud with Punchline before where Amygdala is killed and places is blown up in Alleytown. A lot of our shit was really put into jeopardy because of that Punchline bitch, and you're just going to work with her now. Cool, all right. Oh, and you say the Punchline is now working with Catwoman as well. Well, I'm just Black Mask. What am I to do?
I love the idea that they're even like, wait a second, it's the classic, wait a second. I always see you here when Catwoman isn't around, like Aiko then, and then all of a sudden, then that guy. But who cares? I mean, there's some things in this that you're just like, really? But then just all this going down, just the idea that she's like, how about we team up? Phase 3, Eric. Now all of a sudden, Punchline's going to join in. She's going to be part of this gang.
The new strays.
I love when she's trying to spell it out. It's like, this doesn't make sense in any Punchline thing. It's like, you seem like you're a bad butt yourselves. How about you come in with my thieves and we make some money? Let's make some cachunda, babe. That sounds crazy. And then everybody's fighting in the background. I mean, there's just fights going on. There's powers being let up. All this nonsense. Lady Clayface turns into like the angel of death out of nowhere, just jumping around.
As a Clayface should.
And then you do play the deal where Teeny Howard talking and giving this narration where I can't say that I think that the authority here is in the wrong. I mean, these ladies were arrested. They're in prison. They're breaking out. And she's trying to spin this like, look at authority trying to put us down. They ain't going to do shit. We're the thieves, whatever.
I think we're on the wrong side of this narration.
Yeah, I really think we are. I mean, you did have some, but really, Teeny Howard, because she can't tell a story worth of shit, you really had to set up the guards as being over the top, just bad abuse. Then you set up, we got to get out of here.
I know
this
tropes.
Might not be the right. Yeah, so you end up with this. It's just like, oh my God, it's so over the top with our. Then you have this weird scene with Marquise, with Catwoman. I don't know what's
idea
going on.
Of like the prison system being bad. Here's the narration that Catwoman has on the big breakout. If my plans for Gotham City are going to work, I need to be optimistic. I need to believe that people can break the law and still care about each other, and I do. Every one of these inmates puts down their personal grudges, and we fight back to back against our jailers. They're overwhelmed by our harmony. Authorities always is.
Yeah.
No, it's those metahuman bitches that are killing everybody. That's what they're afraid of.
I love that. It's like, what is Harmony? Another metahuman in the background that's just killing people with laser eyes? Because
blows up brains.
You end up having these metahumans. It's so ridiculous. The idea
I'm telling you, like I said, the idea that, Marquise is super strong and has a healing factor. We got a cyborg, and again, I don't remember which one of the cyborg is. It might as well even be Marquise for all I remember. But you have Lady Clayface, you have, I forget which one it was, the one that breathes, the theater gas out of their mouth as well. Just the idea of all of these people, and for all the stuff that's going on that we've seen in the past and, know their association with, they all belong here. And honestly, they don't even belong here. They belong in an even more supermax prison where you can actually inhibit their powers because these are dangerous people.
They are. And again, you could sit there and say anything. Well, the one got shot. Doesn't matter what they did. They can't end up here. And Teenie Howard.
Our jailers are pieces of shit trying to keep us jailed for our crimes.
She dogpiles onto the idea that the metahuman shouldn't be there with the idea that it's like commendable for Selina to break out these people who are pretty bad. I mean, we don't know exactly what they did, so you're going to think the worst.
I know what they did. Murder.
They're there. And even then, the crime they're committing at this moment is enough to put them in jail for a long time. They are attacking the guards. They're going down. They're wrecking the place.
Oh, that's a paddling.
I do like then where all this is going down.
Best believe that's paddling.
You have a sweep in the leg because, Punchline is badass and says, hey, here's your chance. This is Slater. Here's your chance. Are you ambitious or just chaotic? Come on.
Ooh-wee.
You can't outfight me, Punchline. So you better think about my offer before it expires. And then you have the idea, well, okay, I think I will, but screw you. That's not the correct pronunciation.
Telephone operators are standing by.
Don't act yet. Do you think that this knife can cut through a can
there's
and
more.
A tomato? Oh, my goodness gracious.
Sham wow.
This book continues where all of a sudden it's Punchline and Selina working together.
Phase 2.
Phase nothing. This book needs to get a new creator on it. This is bullshit.
I'm telling you, at the end of the Gotham game with what we had with Punchline, we really felt we elevated the character where she's a legitimate threat in Gotham to where, out of nowhere in this issue, which we continued in the story arc saying, holy shit, Punchline is a legitimate threat to Gotham. She has a phase 2 that we don't even know. We need to break out of prison to stop her. So this issue, Punchline just broke into prison, and now she works for Catwoman, who works with Aiko, who's working against the Gentleman's Club. So we're a bunch of criminals going against other criminals to bring them down, but we're the good guys.
And in the meantime, pining for Valmont, who you still think is a cat. There you go.
His ass is Duchess and always will be.
It may be. Maybe they'll transfer the thing. That would be funny that he ends that way.
Do you think it's going to be a weird situation? Because, I don't know, for some reason, it just feels like we're coming to the end of this run. I don't know why. I don't think it's announced anything of the sort.
No, nothing's announced, but it feels like
we're coming to the end of this run.
Like we're forcing things to an ending, right?
It feels like
that's what it feels like.
And it almost feels to me that once Duchess was kind of like, the guards found out that there was a cat in the vents and shut that shit down, and we might not see Duchess ever again. Like, do you think we're ever going to bring that up again?
It's weird because
unless Valmont's the fucking cat.
The funny play is, well, you have the Duchess who, just disappeared then. Did they get Duchess? And then Selina's still in the vents, so I don't know what's going on. And then you have this
cat
going
got
on
your
that
tongue.
at the end, we transferred Valmont's spirit into the cat. Always knew he was a pussy. That's what I need, Eric, right? Am I canceled now? But I ended up where that's what I want.
But not for that.
This whole thing is just ridiculous. I mean, Teenie Howard goes through so many phases of doesn't understand really anything about prison.
What did we do with Catwoman in prison?
I don't know. I told you that'd be bullshit.
The idea of redemption for the murder of a man, especially the idea that the man that she actually loves is so important to the idea of murder that she then commits it to save him. There's some decent drama in that. We dropped that story arc.
Well, Aaron,
we even had fucking Ventura Fremont, the fucking assistant DA, come in here. I want to get you out of prison because I know Punchline's one responsible. Fuck out of here, Ventura. I belong here. All right, it's time to break out of prison.
Ventura Fremont hears about this and it's like, why? I could have gotten you out and you didn't want to. And now you're... And then
not on your terms.
I love it where it's like, okay, girls, this is the whole group now. Okay, Lady Clayface, you go to that museum and steal that vase. this fun's for you, baby. Everything's for Valmont now. I'm going to steal everything for you to Valmont. What is going on? It doesn't make any sense. And then they're just destroying guards for no reason, and that's bad. You have all these things going down.
Do you think this is somehow going to turn into this weird thing where we now have this metahuman woman army that Selena is like commanding, essentially? Like, I want to call them the Second Chance Strays too, and where eventually, because Valmont was a part of the League of Assassins, that the League of Assassins are going to come looking for Catwoman for murdering one of their own?
Maybe, and then I don't know.
And then it turns out we have to stop the hit because Valmont's alive, but in the body of a cat.
In the body of a cat. He's like coughing up fur balls and shit.
You thought I was a killing machine, but I'm also a shapeshifter as well. I have many talents. I'm Valmont.
Well, it's like you end up and then you realize that
reincarnation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like he's reincarnated, but also he's the twin brother of Ghostmaker. It all ties together, Eric. The thing that I think that Selena really gets lucky in is that Batman's off in his fucking dream multiverse fucking Gotham. That he's not here. If he finds out about this, he's going to lose his fucking mind. I mean, the idea that she is now just wrecking a house. Now,
imagine if you did that situation where you break out of prison and have this whole new plan because you hear that Batman has been killed.
Well, and you have to get out.
Something with that.
Yeah, and like you have to get out to find out if it's real because you don't believe it and you want to do it. You could have a lot of different reasons that this happens. Synergy. There's none here. The reason, I mean, legitimately, the reason, like you said, I'm going to serve my time. I'm going to go to trial because I did kill a man that I loved. I'm not going to say the man. I feel guilty. I did it. It's very similar.
A man I boned.
Very similar to the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil book over at Marvel. I did the crime. I'm going to pay him with the time. So you end up where she goes. You said that got dropped immediately. Then you started with this idea of, oh man, like you didn't even set it up, but it got the vibe of these girls don't belong here. They were railroaded in. No. But that's what you needed, right? You needed to have them say like, "Oh,
not going to buy it, even if you say it."
Well, so you have, but then now it just becomes. Then it shifts to, oh my God, we got to fight ourselves against the old Punchline and the Royal Flush Gang.
Bad versus bad. I'm down for that.
Then it just completely ends up with like, hey, we should join together. In the meantime. You have Aiko and Tomcat out there doing their thing.
Also, we're kind of teaming up with Tommaso against the Gentleman's Club. The Black Mask seems cool with it, so we're fine. But the thing is, we still have Aiko and Hasagawa, who's a part of the Gentleman's Club and one of the families of Gotham's mob. And the idea that we have to still, hey, I know you was working with that Catwoman, but we always told you if we saw you in the same rooms together, we'd kill your ass. And then Selena Kyle shows up. Well, we could fight Selena, but I think I'm going to go back to the idea that we're going to kill your ass because you're now in the same rooms. Huh?
They even say that Aiko promised them. Yeah, I'm not Catwoman. If I see her in the same, I'm going to get her. And and like, what the fuck is going on here? Like everything falls apart. Nothing feels big. You have legitimate, especially like a Black Mask. These are big characters. These are characters that really are a threat to even Batman. And they're just fumbling around here. They
just
don't even know
that
what
whole
to do.
legacy aspect to when, Selena Kyle killed Black Mask, and that was a gigantic storyline at the end of War Games. There's this gigantic adversary kind of complex thing going on between Catwoman and Black Mask that has, all these years behind it, and that's why you use it now, because it has that gravitas, but you just fumble the ball
Remember the first 3 issues that we were like, this is kind of cool. This is pretty neat. You have the stuff with Black Mask. It started getting a little wonky with that, like, all of a sudden, we're setting up a teeth cleaning to get the whole deal. That was a little, but we were going with it. But now, at this point, too, seriously, Selena's been in the game enough that her trash talk should be better than maybe she's not hiding and just better things to do than fight a deck of cards. What the fuck is that? That is such a stupid line.
I just need everybody to know that Selena Kyle is Catwoman because there's no reason that anybody in Gotham City
that Selena
shouldn't know this.
She leaps up into that vent again. Later, she needs Marquise to hoist her up, but she is back, and then she ends up. She might as well end everything that she says to everybody with a meow. They're so dumb they can't figure it out. She's really testing them. Yeah, exactly.
God, I want her to be on the nose Eartha Kitt about everything she fucking says here, and people to still be in the goddamn Who do you think that Catwoman is? I don't know. I just really don't know.
I cannot figure this out. But yeah, now, if you're going to play that would be a kind of a fun deal to, poke fun at. But I don't think that Tini Howard realizes that it's bad. I think that she is completely oblivious that she is writing a book they just really, even with this, a lot of times we'll have fun with books and things like that, but this book is also just a slog to get through. It's a lot of people talking about, well, we have this plan A, plan B. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to break out. And at the end, you're just like, what the fuck is happening here? Nothing's happening that is even
people
worth
always
anything.
Talk shit about the idea that, why don't people know that Clark Kent's Superman? Because they're exactly the same except for maybe a posture and some glasses. This is even more infuriating in my mind because think of this. This
because
is
they got sent to jail
mind.
like this.
No, this is how this works in my mind. People, like the way this book works, where nobody has any understanding that Selena Kyle is Catwoman for like seeing both of them, like 1 second here, next second a Catwoman costume, do the exact same thing in or out of costume.
Same clothes, just a thing over face.
Now, this would be the same thing over on the Superman side if Clark Kent ran around with an S on his chest, just wearing glasses, saving the day.
He just puts the glasses on with his full Superman outfit.
Then I can understand people being upset if like, why doesn't anybody understand? Because that's what you have in this book.
You do. It's bad. But I
like the art though.
I do too. I like the art a lot actually. I do believe that Marquise, when I saw this, almost seems like they're trying to give a little shout out. Why in this book I don't know, but to Stephanie Phillips. Actually looks a lot like Stephanie Phillips, and she does a lot of working out. When you had that deal like I'm strong like that, I'm like,
yeah, I have seen Stephanie Phillips pictures like that.
Yeah, it looks a lot like that. So that if it is, that's kind of cool. I don't mind that, but it's just a weird play. It's just a weird play, this whole book. And the things that we wanted more of, if Selena's going to be in jail, all right, let's get more Ico, Tomcat. Like, these are the things that we wanted. No, it didn't. It really didn't. And we still have, like, what's going on with the dad and the boy. Everything just gets pushed aside for nothingness. And now we're getting out of jail in the weirdest way. I mean, you really could have just had Selena say, listen, I think that I'm guilty. And they're, no, we looked at the deal. You're not. Let's go. And then maybe she could want to try to break I don't know. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all that she's breaking out metahumans out of prison just because.
No, it all falls apart here. Don't tell you, I like the art mostly in this whole thing. That's the biggest draw in my mind because the book looks great. The colors really pop off. But nothing about the story actually goes well together, issue to issue, to what our final outcome is. This whole thing, everything falls apart. Every character involved falls apart, and now we're just left with a bunch of inmates who escaped, who are metahumans that I actually don't care about, stuck with Selena Kyle, while everybody else who was a main character in this book kind of falls apart around them. So I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 4, and I was just thinking too, like now that even if you convinced me, which you said you can't be convinced that any of these girls, should
do it.
What about the other people that are in prison at this moment? They're just going to run out too. You may have like such characters as Lady Zaz and Lady Two-Face. I was waiting for some bullshit like that, but I think everybody can just now escape. There's going to be big trouble in Gotham this night, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's Plan C, Phase C. But Eric, I don't think either of these books will be part of your book of the week. But what is your book of the week?
I believe my book of the week is a tie between World's Finest, The Flash, and DCeased War of the Undead Gods this week. And in fact, they're all kind of similar in there, so maybe I'm wrong about this, but you listen to the podcast. I'm sure you know what my books of the week are, but these were all contenders at least.
I know that you usually throw shade. I'm not going to throw shade either because we had so many books, Eric. Mine was Batman, Superman, World's Finest.
What did I throw shade
That was
on?
my book. Me, when I say, I think mine says, you don't remember. I'm not going to
one time at 480, it's fine.
Mm-hmm, really? Here we go. We have all this going on. I have a lot of working pieces here. I got sound effects to give. You're sitting there smoking it up. They're punching darts. Here we go is what we're going to be talking about next week. Also have that. Also, we're going to be talking about all these books. 2 of them will be on the Patreon spotlight, though, picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. And I think I know what they'll be, Eric, but they always surprise us, those badasses, don't they? We have Action Comics number 1054. If you are excited about that Dawn of DC book, but didn't quite like Paige, the Power Girl story, that is skedaddle. That's gone. We end up having a Steelworks kind of story in that, so that's pretty cool.
It's just weird when we have a Steelworks series coming out.
Well, this might get people fired up, and we don't have the Steelworks thing until July, so that's a ways away, and I think that this just sets up a little more Natasha than actual Steel. Blue Beetle Graduation Day number 6, that's the finale of that series, which I think could have been a lot better, but hopefully it ends with a bang, Eric. I hope that you end up where you have the reach around that we've been waiting for.
They're not coming. It's just a horizon.
See? I just want to reach around. I didn't mean the aliens. Yeah, the horizon's down, but they keep pushing
Why
the horizon as being
around?
good. Well, I don't know. They end up where the whole play is like, oh, the horizon, they're good, they're good, they're good. Like, what do we think's going to happen when they show up? But we shall see.
They're good.
We shall see. Detective Comics number 1071. Speaking of a book that people like that we're not really down with.
They love them organs.
They like the organs. I wish I had two lips on my organs, right? Woo-wee! I heard Gabe, who can trust that guy with his reviews, but he has already reviewed it on the site. It's not up yet, but he's kind of, the story doesn't progress much, so that's kind of, that's par for the course.
Just give me some reality engines, some music boxes, and Wolfman. That's all I need.
Yeah. I think that there's some time travel again in this one. I thought I saw.
Better not be no damn time travel.
We'll see some flashback time travel or something. But we also have Green Arrow number 1, which I think people will be real impressed with. And I think Eric Shea is going to shed a tear. Is what I
better.
Harley Quinn number 29. I think Eric Shea is going to shed a tear.
For different reasons.
What wacky shit will we do that will have no consequences in this one,
Do
Eric?
you even remember what we did last issue?
Oh, yeah,
I remember.
Dawn of
DC? What was it?
What we have going on is we had prank wars going on with Harley and Two-Face. Harley ends up getting arrested, ends up with her probation being a professor at the community college, where then Two-Face drives in, almost kills kids, but he's let go because of his lawyer.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
but
then at the end...
Where did we progress?
Oh, I think at the end it's just Harley like, I guess I'm going to be teaching.
I thought somebody showed up to do some multiversal nonsense.
Maybe. Now that you say that, but the multiversal there was multiversal nonsense because we were talking about that.
That's right, because we had Electropolis and Lady Quark.
Yeah, but they disappeared. They ended up saying, okay, well, don't do that again. And I think it was just Harley like, woe is me, what shall I do now? And now she'll teach class, but she has no class, Eric. Oh, my goodness. I am not looking forward to
more multiversal stuff.
Holy shit. Yeah, but I'm telling you, I think that might be...
she breached the multiverse. Lady Quark said had to come in and say, look, you do that shit again, we're going to have a problem. You think she's not going to do it again?
Well, they said if you do that again, they had the power to pretty much kill everybody on... I don't think that they will. I think that it's Teeny Howard. She's just going to move on, and next thing, prison. I don't know. It's freaking street flavors of ramen. That's all you'll get, Eric. But that book's going to suck. I hate to say that ahead of time, but that book's going to suck. Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods, number 4, the finale.
It's all going to work out. It's all going to make sense, right?
If you are, I saw a lot of people upset because they thought that Mary giving the powers to Wonder Woman would mean that was there you go. You took Mary away from being Shazam because Billy has to be. Not quite. I will tell people to read that if they are Mary fans. You're going to get a new status quo. So, take a deal. But no, I think that it'll be bullshit. The idea of a new status quo for now. I feel like we're going to get even away from what we had by the end of this issue, get her back to more of a regular Mary Marvel by the end. Well, here's the thing. The problem going forward, it seems that you're not going to end up having the family involved, but they still want Mary to be part of Shazam. You can't share the power, so she's got to have her own thing. So we'll have to see how that works out. But the whole play of what do you got? I don't even know what can they do with the wizard?
We gotta fix the wizard.
There's just too many. We gotta fix the wizard. We can do that. Yeah, I don't know. It's the yellow shit road
they've been going down.
Yeah, I don't know how you finish this nonsense. It's been a wreck, but we'll see. Maybe they have the druthers to do it. We also have another book that people love, Tim Drake Robin, number 8.
Who loves that book?
Here's the deal. You gave it your book of the week the one week, but you were duped. Did. I mean, you were completely duped by her that one because you thought that you had saw that she understood the characters in the deal, and I said, I think she just went on Wikipedia, but you said, I don't care. She's showing something, and she got you. But...
And then got away from that immediately.
Here's a hot take, Eric. Do you think this is a hot take? I do. I'm just going to... I've not looked at it.
It doesn't matter. The book's already canceled.
Eric, you said what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think this is going to be good. I think this is going to be a good issue. Out of nowhere, I think she's going to pull this one out.
We had a bullshit story in the last issue. The art looked great, though. And everything dealing with Bernard and Tim Drake worked out well. It just had to be shoved in there in a really, really bullshit story that brought everything else down.
And that's where I'm almost thinking that she did that. They're going to give her a solid, because I think that whether or not people like the status quo or whatnot, the only things that are ever any good at all are the Tim Drake with Bernard. And I think, oh no, I'm looking now. This is bullshit. I'm looking. I don't even think we have the same artist from last. No, we don't. Why wouldn't they keep? God darn it, Eric. That was so good art. We get one issue of that art. All right. Well, strike the record. I didn't say shit. That was conjecture.
Conjecture.
I want to conjecture. I think it's going to be bullshit. And then we have a book that I really hope. What I'm doing is I am a small-time pizza lawyer. I may not know.
You're a small-time pizza eater.
I may not know hell law, but I know the pizza law, and I know marina law. Marina law, there is no law. That is the Wild West, that marina. I think we do get some marina stuff. Plus, what ended up happening to like some other side characters, like sidekicks.
Don't ask about what happened to Pi.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And then we have, I don't know why everybody's yelling in this house suddenly.
I know why.
We also have Unstoppable Doom Patrol #2, something that I hope I can get on board. I didn't quite like the first issue. Ruben, who's a huge Doom Patrol, he hated it. He thought that he was going to go in and teach me, Eric, and then he said he didn't like it. He messaged me. He's like, that was bad. I actually think it was a little better than what he said, but I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, I said that my biggest problem with that book is too many characters, not really introducing some stuff for somebody like me who doesn't have a lot of Doom Patrol experience. And then you ended up, after that, the Dennis Culver ended up going on Twitter and like, wait till you see next issue. I'm introducing 6 new characters. I'm like, oh no, but we'll see how it works out.
Denny did his due diligence. He told you all about Cliff Steele, Larry Traynor. Maybe you could do a little bit more with Elastigirl, I guess. But, you got a new Beast Girl?
You also have them talking back at HQ. I don't know what the status quo is, like all that stuff. But we'll see. We'll see how it is. Maybe it'll work it out. We don't have that many issues. It's just 6 issues. That's why I thought kind of odd that you start out with not telling us stuff. But I think we get a main new character, new guy introduced, one of these metas, and then you end up having like 3 others that are kind of introduced, first appearances. Maybe that's what
school for gifted youngsters.
Maybe that's what they're going with, the idea that you have a lot of first appearances and stuff and it becomes collectible, but we'll see. We shall see. It didn't sell well, which I didn't think it would, and I don't know why it's this early in Dawn of DC, but we'll go on with that. We'll see. And I do think that what we would get on the deal would probably be a Green Arrow and maybe a Doom Patrol, maybe a Green Arrow and a Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods 4. What would you think? Yeah,
I'd say that. I'd say something like that, yeah. Green Arrow is definitely getting gobbled up, I feel.
And boy, it'll make me sad because I really think that that's like one that if we have that on the main show, it'd get a lot of new faces, new eyes on it, new ears even, Eric, but I think they're going to pick that. Think they will pick that, and then they'll have to go to the Patreon, but that's tough to get people who have never listened to the podcast yet to go, but maybe they will. But all you have listened to it, why not? Go over to the Patreon, because I do think it'll be that patreon.com/weirdscience as a ahead of time thing. Next month, we actually have an annuals month, so at the end of that month, we will have a Patreon only show, just throwing it out there to let everybody know that's something we do. We'll talk more about it as we go on, but that is it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Barry and Craig, for mailing in and everything else involved. Thank you for joining me, Eric. But that is it for the deal.
Thank you for joining me.
Yes. What do we say at the end there?
Everybody have a great week. Keep it weird. And we'll see you in 7.
See you in 7.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.